Right, so welcome everyone. I think we'll start right away. So Bito Mbonket Batni, for those who can understand Mungaka, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all join us for this book launch. So for those of you who are new to our publishing platform, we are Spears Media Press. We also publish titles imprint name Spears Books. We were founded in 2014. We've been publishing fiction, nonfiction, poetry, drama, and all of that. We are based out here in Denver, Colorado. So it's a pleasure to have you all. And we look forward to an exciting launch. This is actually a twin event. We will be launching not only the book, but also celebrating International Mother Tongue Day. So I think many of you already know about that. The actual date is on Monday. So we picked this date, which is closest to the International Mother Tongue Day, so we can celebrate this important milestone. So welcome once again, and we hope that you would stay through to the end of the event and that you would participate as best as you can. All right, so I'm going to introduce the moderator who will take over from here. Our moderator is going to be Valeria Awa Ngafo. She holds an MA in General Linguistics from the University of Yaoundé, where she was an assistant lecturer from 1995 to 1999. Her MA thesis was on the WH movement in Mungaka language. That is the formation of syntactic dependencies involving interrogative words. After moving to the US, she served as an adjunct professor at Houston Community College, where she taught English as a second language, as well as developmental English from 2005 to 2017. She's a senior marketing director with World Financial Group. Financial education is her passion. She believes financial independence is not a dream, it's a decision. She has previously been the president of the Bali Cultural Association, Southern Texas chapter, and is currently the Secretary General of the Bali Cultural Association. Please join me to welcome this phenomenal lady, Ma Valeria Ngafo Awa.
Thank you very much, Jude, and good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. And it is an honor and a privilege to moderate this event this afternoon. I couldn't be more proud of my sister, Dr. Lilian Ndangam-Fokwang, for giving me this opportunity to moderate this event. So we're gonna go right into our event. And again, before we do that, let me take the opportunity to thank all of you. We know we live in a very busy world, but you found time and join us this morning or afternoon to celebrate our sister and also support her on this book launch. So thank you very much. We hope that you will find this very, very informative and also fun, because the goal is to have a fun day. For those who don't speak Mungaka, know that we are accepting visas. You can become a Bali person. And we have some of our brothers that are teaching the language. We have Nigodi Gwaibe and Dr. Jude Fokwang. They have a one-on-one, Mungaka one-on-one going on. So talk to them to get more details if you want to learn the language. It would be nice if we have more people speaking Mungaka, you know. Mungaka used to be a vehicular language in the Northwest region. And so it wouldn't be very far if we all, at least the world is becoming a small village. Wouldn't it be nice for us to have a common language that we can communicate in without others really knowing what we are saying, you know? So on that note, let me go ahead and go through our program for today. So we have welcome and introduction of moderator that has been done. Introduction of the author, official book launch, review of the book by Ni Victor, interview with the author by moderator, remarks by Nigori Gwaibe, story time in Mungaka, phone quiz, and you win a free book from Spears book, Q&A from participants, and we'll have a word or two from Ndangam, that is our author's father, then the closing remarks. So that is our program for this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. So let me go ahead and give it over to Nijud. Nijud will introduce our author.
All right, so thank you so much. The author today is Ma Lilian Ndangam-Fokwang. As you all know, I am lucky to be not only the person introducing her, but I'm also her husband. So they didn't give anything for me to read, because the idea was that I would have to do this off the cuff. But I hope I will not take so much time. I want to focus on the authorship here, you know, the fact that she is the author. Lilian holds a PhD from the University of Sheffield in journalism and media studies. And education is her passion. Although she works in IT, she still remains a committed educator. And she's very passionate about mother tongue transmission and the importance of mother tongue language. When we started this journey in 2018, she was an active participant, and by that I meant the teaching of Mungaka using the tools that were available at the time, which was Zoom. And she took this so seriously that she started working on this, and she's been doing this work for the last, I think, 1.5 years, working on the Mungaka word book. And today we are here to celebrate not just her, but also to celebrate what I think is a really, really important work in not only in Mungaka, but in African languages. So hopefully this would inspire others. I know there are lots of people here who are interested in this kinds of stuff to take the cue from her, and she'll be more than happy to guide you through the process. So you are at the right place if this is your passion. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you the author of our book today, Ma Lilian Ndangam-Fokwang. Please join me in welcoming her as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Nijud. But before we bring the author, I would like to call on one of Ma Lilian's sister and very close friend, Miss Prudence Eok, to share a word or two about the author. Unmute, please.
Oh, thank you, Ma Valeria. Bintou Bonket, like you said, we all will learn how to speak Bali today. So I'm jump starting this, you know.
Thank you.
Some of us, if not all of us, have heard the title of the book, Evans Cameroon English Book by Augustine Ndangam. And when I bring this up, most people will be like, what has that got to do with anything? There is a proverbial saying that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And this apple fell really close to the tree, if you know what I mean. Ndangam, so many years ago, instilled this seed in his children and he's written books, and he continues even into his old age. And today, he must be proud, his heart must be bursting to see that what he started so many years ago, it's germinating in this beautiful seed today. Not just any book, but a cultural book, a Mungaka word book, in a season, in a world where tradition is gradually, the world is becoming one little global village. To see that there is someone who still wants to maintain culture, who still wants to keep our identity intact and keep our children in that culture, in that tradition, to learn the language, to maintain the language, is such a blessing. And so I just want to thank God for this day. And I feel honored, blessed to introduce this dynamic, phenomenal, beautiful woman, wife, mother, and the author of this book that we will be talking about today, Mungaka Word Book. Please, it is my delight, it is my honor, it's such a blessing to introduce my dear friend, Dr. Lilian Ndangam-Fokwang. Lilian grew up in the northwest region of Cameroon, where her parents ensured that her siblings spoke Mungaka at home, even though their studies were in English. And despite being a native speaker of Mungaka, she has never learned to read or write the language. But in 2018, she began learning to read and write Mungaka using revised alphabet, adopted in 2010. Inspired by her enhanced literacy in Mungaka and the paucity of written text in Mungaka, she began developing didactic resources to make Mungaka vocabulary building more practical, engaging for non-native speakers, native speakers alike, non-native and native speakers alike. She is passionate about Balinyonga culture, promoting Mungaka literacy through language and documentation and revitalization projects. Lilian holds a PhD in journalism and media studies from the University of Sheffield in UK. She was a Chevening Scholar at Leeds University, UK, and a Mellon postdoctoral research fellow at Rhodes University, South Africa. Her research on media ethics, gender, and media has been published in international media and communication journals. In 2012, in celebration of 50 years of diplomatic relations between Cameroon, Canada, she co-edited a volume for Cameroon's High Commission in Canada, profiling Cameroonians in Canada. She served as a consultant to the largest and longest running research on gender in the world's news media, the Global Media Monitoring Project in 2010, 2015, and 2020. Lilian is not a solo act. Lilian and her husband, Dr. Jude Fonkwa, are a dynamic duo. And as you see in that background where Ma Valeria is, you see Spears' book, these two are a production on their own. And it is just a blessing. It is just an honor. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome this phenomenal woman who is moving and shaking things, who is bringing a change like we have not even begun to imagine. Join me to welcome Dr. Lilian Fonkwa as she presents this wonderful book, Mungaka Word Book.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prudence, for your kind words. And thank you, Mana, and Nijut as well, for those warm words of introductions. It's really an honor to be here with you today. And it's a kind of a relief to finally have this book out there so that other people can enjoy it. So thank you all for being here. So Nijut, should we proceed with the official launch?
Indeed, indeed. So if you have a copy of the book, this is the moment where we do the ritual. So get a copy of your book, hold it on the screen. And we need someone to have the gallery view on so that we can take screenshots. Can we have a volunteer, maybe Prudence?
I will.
Please, if you
Okay,
have
Siri.
a copy of the book, turn on your camera, please, and hold a copy of your book so we can take a screenshot. This is a virtual launch. This is the moment where we declare this book launched, and we'll give everyone a few moments to pull their books together. If you're driving, please just keep driving. Don't
That's what
let
I'm
your
saying.
hands off.
Those of us driving here, I'm trying to take a picture.
Okay, please no. Keep your hands on the wheel.
He's driving
I
to the
need
book
to-
launch.
There you
If
go.
you-
Aha.
If you need you, I was just
already-
gonna tell Ma Valeria.
You.
I was just gonna say that if you can temporarily
I know.
turn
I
off your
thought about that. Let
background.
me take it out.
Yes, yes.
So please raise the book if you have a copy. We don't yet have
Thank you.
digital copies, so there's no way you can bring your iPad here now.
Thank you.
If you have a physical copy of the book,
Why do we
please
change
just
our
raise it.
background again, Igodi?
And we're about to declare this book launch. We're gonna do a countdown, okay, from 5. All right. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The book is now officially launched.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Lilian.
Congrats.
Thank
Yeah.
you, everybody.
Congratulations, Lilian.
Thank you.
Did we have somebody take a screenshot?
Yes, I took a few.
You did? You want to
Okay.
take it again?
Awesome.
Okay, I
awesome.
can
Thank you,
take it.
guys.
I took some shots as well.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, guys.
Mike.
We'll continue with the program. Awesome.
Okay, thank you very much, Prudence, Nijud, for those wonderful words. And again, thank you everyone that has a copy. At least we know that the book is actually in print.
Yes.
By seeing the copy. So we want to encourage everyone to rush and get a copy. Let's make this a bestseller. It takes a village to make this happen. So talk to your little villages around your communities, your friends, family members, put in a good word. Again, you don't have to be a Mungaka speaker to get this book. Let's encourage our sister, our friend, so that we can all help achieve the goal that she has set for this book. So can we all do that? So if you don't have a copy, again, Nijud is gonna post here how you can get the book. So Nijud, can you do that, please?
Yes, I will. And while we are at it, I also posted the link to our latest catalog. You would find this book in that catalog as well. And many, many fine titles. So if you're new to our platform, please download a copy of that catalog. And I'll also post a link to the book on this PS website. It should be available on Amazon within the next 48 hours. So if you prefer to buy on Amazon in the next 48 hours, you should be able to find it there. But also know that we are happy to, ship an autographed copy to you from this PS website, which I'll be sharing with you shortly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nijud, and hopefully we can really drive this book, make sure it becomes the #1 bestseller. Our next speaker is going to help review this book, give us a little bit of insight of this book. And this is someone that I would call a colleague. We actually went to school together back in the days of Yaoundé. So it gives me a great honor to introduce him. Dr. Victor Gomia is a professor of world literature at the Department of Languages and Literatures, Delaware State University. His current research interests include popular literature and utilitarian literature in post-colonial settings, as well as globalization and literature. The latter inspired a project that resulted in rewriting past, imagining futures, critical explorations of contemporary African fiction and theater, a volume he co-edited with Gilbert Chang of Beirut University. His most recent journal articles were on Bolebutake and Ngugi wa Thiong'o. His most recent awards were from Delaware Humanities Forum and Howard University's Center of African Studies. Dr. Gomia is a recent recipient of Delaware State University's Languages and Literatures Department Research and Publication Award. We put our hands together to welcome this brother, this instructor and professor, Dr. Gomia.
So it's okay. Yes, yes, Ma Valet, thank you very much. I'm talking already, so close the door. I must say it's a pleasure to be here today. And I thank you again, Ma Valet, for the introduction. I mean, we come way back in the Ngwaikele days in the 90s. Those very interesting days indeed. Again, it's a pleasure to be part of this exercise. And I want to share my views of this work, what I call a monumental work in the context of our own very being as Barinyonga people and as Africans generally. And so I'm going to attempt to come up with some, to see this work as part of a diverse effort made to promote and preserve African indigenous languages. Mungaka, like an estimated 2,000 African indigenous languages, has suffered delegitimization and devaluation in educational systems. According to ethnographic data, our use of English and French and other European languages as media of education contribute to this phenomenon. Scholars estimate that anywhere between 1,500 and 3,000 different languages in Africa are spoken in various parts of the continent. Of these, hundreds are considered endangered by linguists. Many have already disappeared with little fanfare, with little notification. But recent events demonstrate that a number of innovative initiatives are underway to promote the use of many lesser known languages across the continent. One of the most attractive examples is coming to us from South Africa, where there is an organization that has gone a long way to translate and create business software into many of the South African languages. There's what they call the Zuza Software Foundation is hiring specialists to translate Linux into Zulu and Xhosa, with plans for translations in 9 other South African indigenous languages. Desktop applications are already available in Zulu, Xhosa, and Venda. Now, the goal of this foundation is to make it easier for local businesses to use and modify software programs, removing the necessity of learning English, French, or any European or outside languages to use a computer. Project planners hope that the translations will also stimulate greater pride and interest in African languages. The outlook for many Africa's oldest and most complex languages, however, remains very, very discouraging. Linguists across the board are working with the few remaining speakers of languages to document and preserve their structures and to reignite interest among younger generations, especially. The extremely low number of younger speakers of these languages means it is unlikely that they will still be spoken 50 years from today. But still, there are very enthusiastic or very inspired critics who tend to characterize this effort at bolstering these languages as futile, citing, for example, the pervasive influence of mass media in spreading colonizing languages such as English, French, Portuguese, and other external languages out of the continent. But experts say that economic constraints and political considerations are the factors more directly responsible for language change and extinction. In Africa, many young people are forced to seek work in cities where English, French, and often Pidgin are the languages of communication. They learn these languages in order to survive, often at the expense of their first lesser known languages. Philosophers and linguists argue that the languages that are rapidly disappearing may hold wisdom and information that will be much like the genetic or medicinal treasures lost when species become extinct. Indigenous communities' ability to transmit their cultural heritage and traditional knowledge hinges to a great extent on the health of their language. Publications like Dr. Lilian Ndangam-Fokwang's Mungaka word book offer a measure of hope that the use of some of these rich but lesser used African tongues will be sustained and perhaps expanded in years to come. We know, of course, that language is at the center of every culture. Storytelling is part and parcel of the reinvigoration of language use in any community. A story, when told in a language, can never be innocent. This is because a writer does not write in a vacuum. So if you look at this text, it is very pictorial, but the pictures, though they look very beautiful and attractive in the sense of entertainment, I can tell you that the pictures are very, very self-transcending. What that means is that these pictures tell stories in themselves. And we know that stories are not innocent. When I think it's Chinua Achebe who argues that when someone reads another one's story for too long, that person may find him or herself in a strange boat. And so when we have texts like this, it is part of the effort made across our continent. And we have to be very thankful to people like Manyem, and of course the Spears Media that has been at the forefront of a lot of this effort at preserving our own value through our own language and culture. So I will like to just round up. I will come back again to speak a bit more in some aspect of what I just said. But because of time constraint, I'd like to end here just by saying that this text is a must-have for every Nyonga family in the United States and beyond. I've gone through it. Some of the words, some of the names reminds me of my own childhood days back in Bali as well. Born, of course, and bred in Bali, most of my childhood, I should say. So it will be very interesting or very appreciated if we see a lot of us availing ourselves of this text. So we start getting familiar with these words. Words are the vehicles that drive the development of every language. So we master the words. That's already part of the bigger project to make sure that all that we have in terms of our cultural values are not extinct. Again, due to time constraint, I won't go beyond this, but I will be here right on hand to substantiate any aspect of what I just said or more than what I might have said a bit earlier. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to just say this is a wonderful text. When I got it the first evening, I just took time and went through it from page to page. And it is something that I think every Nyonga son and daughter needs to do, especially those of us who are far away from home, trying to make home away from home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gomia. And again, I will add that not only Nyonga's son and daughters, but also anybody. We want to get everyone learning Mungaka. So thank you very much for the review. We're going to move to our next item on our agenda. I know that we are all itchy to hear from the author herself. So if I can have her, can you spotlight her? Need you.
Sure.
Okay, so I know we are all dying to ask a lot of questions, but I'm going to take the privilege to do this. Then at the end, we will get all our participants to ask more questions. So if these questions don't cover yours, then feel free to do so when we get to that section of the program. So, Lilian, I know writing a book takes a lot of hard work. Tell us, what inspired you to write this book?
Thank you, Mana. This book, the inspiration came from many places. First of all, I do say it in the preface, I grew up speaking Mungaka. My parents made sure that we all spoke Mungaka, and we spent holidays in Bali with our grandparents. So you can't be spending time with grandparents when you cannot communicate with those grandparents and people in the village. But it was very important that we all got to speak Mungaka and growing up, and we could communicate with everybody at home and within the family and the community in that language. But the one thing that was always lacking is that we did not have books, right? We did not have books that were in Mungaka. We all went to school, we learned in English, and we spoke Pidgin around, but there were no resources per se. The only resource we had was the Mungaka Bible, which I'm honored to say my grandfather was part of the team that helped translate that Bible into Mungaka. So it's a kind of full circle for me. I'm sure he's smiling in heaven. He never knew it would get to this, that his granddaughter would live to do this kind of work as well. So we had the Bible, and then we also had, I think, a Kefun Chundap. But these texts were written in an alphabet that was based on the German language. Bless those people who helped to put this together. They gave us a foundation. There's nothing wrong with what they did. They gave us a foundation from which the Mungaka Language Committee has since built to modernize the language. But that alphabet was it's difficult for me to read. For someone who has studied in English language and is familiar with the English alphabet. The German-based alphabet is just difficult. And I talk about a time when we had to read that Bible during the memorial service of my maternal grandfather, and we couldn't. So my sisters and I, we spent the night really cramming the text by reading it and saying, okay, what does this mean in English? And then you actually say it properly now in Mungaka that, okay, this is what. So we stood there at church, and while we opened that text and looked like we're reading it, we had actually crammed it, we had memorized it, and we had to read it as if, But there's a generation of people that were fluent in reading Mungaka, people like my dad, my mom, and so many others who read it in that German-based text, but it was just hard for some of us. So in 2018, when we started the Mungaka 101 class, which was really learning the Mungaka, learning to read and write Mungaka with the modern alphabet that was adapted in 2010. That became a very big inspiration for me. I had finally come to that point where I could actually learn to read and write the language. Because I got to do that, I started thinking of ways that we could have resources. Nijut has published a book on the alphabet. He and Nigodi have produced a text, a sort of textbook for people who are learning the language. So this is just coming to add to that resources that we're building. And I thought that having a book that has words and has pictures is something people can relate to, is very important. And if it has that word in English and it has it in Mungaka, then you don't only learn the word, you also look at the spelling and you look at the alphabet in Mungaka. Because people who speak Mungaka can easily look at something and say, oh, this is it's a calabash. But seeing that curved E there tells you that, okay, this is the right spelling in Mungaka. So I'm hoping, it's my hope that people take from it, not just familiarization with how it's written, but also to learn, consistently how to write and to read it, the language. So really, my inspiration was really from my upbringing and also wanting to put a resource out there that could help others who are trying to learn Mungaka, and also native speakers as well.
Awesome. And to your point, as one who used the old alphabet, I can say this is a great improvement. When I did my thesis, using the old alphabet makes it very difficult for people to read the language. But this is really easier. So kudos to all those that have improved on the alphabet. We have a picture book, so I know this must have entailed a lot of research. So tell us, how did you collect your data?
Yes, so this was the thing that took the most time, because trying to find resources, trying to find pictures, not just pictures, but a lot of the time I wanted to find pictures that people who grew up in Bali could relate to. So I actually paid someone in Bali to go take pictures. Juliet Tasama, who's really been a great resource. She's not here today, but she helped me a lot to take pictures in Bali for things that we know and recognize in Bali. And those that I could not, I really reached out to people. Nige Benyonka helped me get some pictures. My uncle Batita got me some pictures. So many people I reached out to were ready to help. I also used a lot of online resources. I tried as much as possible to find free resources, and then so that I can include in the book. But a huge part of the research came with trying to get pictures for animals and birds, which are indigenous to the region. We can all say an animal, a bird like a partridge. There are different species of partridge. And if I put one there that people don't recognize, I might run into problems with Bali people. So it was a kind of balance. Sometimes if I can't find something that is indigenous, I just pick what is out there. So it was a huge, huge challenge just getting those pictures. So that's why it took me a while, close to 2 years of working on this book, just to get the right pictures out there and put it within the context and organizing it in themes and all those things so that it's easy for people to read. So that was it. That's how I went about it. I reached out to so many people as well in the course of the research, just to clarify some concepts, just to get an understanding. Because sometimes you read things in the dictionary and you're not quite sure. You think, okay, I know this thing, but this is not how I understand it or how it is read or how it is pronounced. And so I reached out to a lot of people, especially my mom. Every day I'll call her and say, okay, pronounce this thing again. Let me hear if I got the tone right. My uncle Nimbang, Niti for singing Kansas City, he helped a lot with especially drums. A lot of the musical instruments, he provided huge guidance on that, and the birds as well. So many people. I mean, one day I was trying to research what Ndangam, the seeds of peace. And then I found out like there's so many species of this thing. I reached out to Nick Kennedy Youngbella, he's not here. And we had this back and forth exchange, and he's telling me, there are like 1,000 species of this thing. And I just carried my hands up. I was like, how am I going to get the right ones? But it was just snowball like that. You talk to so many people, and you come up with ideas and you come up with resources. I mean, one time I spoke with Batita Mokme, and I was looking for the picture of Chok, which is the hat, the cap that they wear in the dance with feathers. And he said, oh, call Nisema, he has a Chok. He called Nisema Fofu. And I said, I hear you have this thing. Can you send me a picture of it? I mean, I could get a picture of it in Bali. I got a picture of it actually, but I wanted to actually portray a picture of somebody wearing it so the reader can understand the context in which this thing is used. So Nisema was very kind enough to send me a picture of him wearing a chop. We put it there. So those are some of the ways I went around getting around to writing this. It wasn't just like copy here and paste here, but it was really taking time to reach out to people and research things.
Awesome. And which also butters the fact that we can't do it alone. To accomplish things like this, we need each other. So again, we thank all those that made it possible. So my next question, tell us what you learned while writing this book.
Oh, I learned a lot. You think you know something and then you don't know. You think you know Mungaka and then you know you don't know. You think you speak Mungaka and then you open the dictionary and you know that you are nowhere there. So for example, I learned just how rich our language is. It is not said often, but our language is very rich. We are very specific in the way we describe things. For example, relatives, right? You are my cousin, but in Mungaka, I will not call you cousin. Right?
Yeah.
I'll say you're my sister. And that term is used not because we don't have words that we can, but Mungaka did not have words that they can use for cousin and all those. It just shows you the kinship, the closeness of family ties within Mungaka. Your cousin, it's in fact, it's sister or brother. It's in fact, I call my brother, it's in fact, my sister, it's in fact, my cousin is fact. So that just tells you that this language it's very rich. Same thing for when you're talking about relatives, right? Your Nimbang is your maternal uncle. But when you're referring to your paternal uncle, it's either Banguket or Bambot. And there's that distinction, right? And if you use those terms, the person knows who you're referring to precisely. So, but I also got to learn a lot about animals. I mean, I started this research knowing like 3 birds in Mungaka, which was Ngomchi, and I think that was about it. But in the course of this, I found out like 20-something different birds, that we have. And even the animals that we have. And it tells me that even though we don't see these animals today, they existed. If our people had a word for it, it existed. There were things they saw. Guanini, a hyena, is not something that people see around these days, but if the people have a term for it, that animal existed. So it just surprised me how rich our language is, how rich our culture is. I knew that, but actually taking time and focusing for 2 years and doing this kind of work, you come with a new appreciation of that language, of that culture, and a sense of pride that you're part of it.
That is so true. And talking about how we refer to our relatives, I think that's why most Africans will refer to their father's friends as uncle and their mother's friends as auntie. So now we know where that comes from. Okay, that's good. So we are all learning. So what was the most surprising thing when you wrote this book?
For me, one of the most surprising things is really the animals and the birds that we have. And I felt a bit sad at some point that we no longer have these, that I didn't grow up seeing these things. A buffalo, we have a name for buffalo. Nyat, we have, deer, we have antelopes, we have all these animals, we have so many birds, even the bird that is used for the red feather. If I tell you, I spent like a week researching that bird. I reached out to the people in my Mungaka class and nobody knew what this bird was in English. And I took upon myself and I went online and I spent a great deal of time and finally found the name of that bird. It's Bannerman Turaco, by the way. So I was just surprised and amazed by the diversity of birds that we have. I mean, I went to a bird resource database for birds. And the Northwest region itself, just the Northwest region, has like 700 different species of birds. And some of them can only be found in the Northwest. Some of them, you know, like the Ngu bird that I'm talking about is only found in that region. You will not find them anywhere else. So that really surprised me, but I was glad that there are resources out there that I could look into and help with the work. But that aspect of the diversity and the amount of animals and bird species that we had really took me by surprise, because like I said, I came to this knowing like 2-3 birds, which are the fowl and the dog fowl that you see around. So that was quite a learning and enriching experience. You're muted.
What was most challenging?
What was most challenging was getting pictures from Cameroon. As much as I wanted to reflect things that we have, that was particularly challenging. There were so many things I wanted to represent from Cameroon. Like, I held back from putting this book out there way before now, just because I wanted to include those things. For example, I was searching for a picture of Nchugu for a long time, and I could not get it. And because of all the safety concerns we're going through, you know, it's hard to get somebody to keep going to Cameroon, to Bali to do that. But in the end, I was able to get that thanks to Nick Gilbert and Nyonka. Things like, you know, really specific things that are specific to the community, like a basket that is carried on the back when they're dancing. Baskets. It was difficult to get. So those were some of the challenges in terms of researching this book, like really just getting the pictures that could match. I don't include a lot of trees and plants in this book because it is challenging to get those pictures of those specific trees, because when in the dictionary, you will look at a plant and you get a description, but I really don't know what that plant looks like if I've never seen it, right? I remember going back and forth with my mom about sip, which is one of a common plant we have. And I sent my Julia to get me a picture of sip, but it was during a season where the plant was dried out. But even if I got it, I wouldn't be able to find the English equivalent again, because that was a challenge, right? Especially for the plants. There are so many plants that are indigenous, and you really need to know what you're talking about with these things. So in the end, I don't include a lot of plants. I know people will ask about that, but as I have told my friend Nick Kennedy, this is up to you now. That is his specialty, the people who study plants and all that botany. So the baton is over to them to carry on with that kind of work. So while the book covers a lot of subjects, those are some of the shortcomings, the challenges I encountered that you would find some of these things are not in the book.
Thank you so much. You've taken us through your journey. One last question. So this book is being launched on the eve of International Mother Tongue Day. What are your thoughts on this day?
I think it's a very, very important initiative that promotes languages other than English and French and all these Western languages. Speaking your language is very important. When I lived in Canada, I remember when I had my first child, I used to go to a parenting class, and they'll tell us each time, speak your language to your child, speak your language to your child. This was in Canada. They could easily say, oh no, speak English. No, they said, speak your language and the child will understand you. You are their first teacher. So I've always felt passionate that it's important to speak a language, and we should not only speak the language, we should speak for languages. We should advocate for languages. So many languages are dying out because the speakers are reducing. And it's important that we not only speak languages, but have resources out there that help people who want to learn a language. And the International Mother Tongue Day provides us that opportunity to reflect and celebrate languages in all their diversity. Mungaka just being one of those, but there's so many other indigenous languages out there that should be celebrated and advocated for. We hope other people will join in other efforts, like Nijut said at the beginning, in doing this. I know other communities are working. In Kwen, my friend Mabi told me her mom had worked on on something similar for when people. I've also got the chance through my friends Prudence to know about somebody who's done work on Bakossi language, and we'll be very happy to publish those things, because for us, the focus is really providing that alternative platform that we can have African voices out there. It's important that we are not left behind, but that we really promote our languages in every context and in every way possible. So it's a very important initiative that we need to celebrate, welcome, and include in all our initiatives that promote culture and language.
Wonderful. Can we give our author a round of applause? Please use your reactions to say thank you. Again, this is very commendable what you are doing to preserve our culture. Thank you so much. And I'm going to let you introduce our next speaker.
Okay. Yes. Yes, it is my honor, really, indeed, to introduce Nigodi. Nigodi has been my teacher, my Mungaka teacher, since 2018, one of them. So it's really an honor to have him here today to help launch this book and to celebrate with us. Nigodi holds a bachelor's degree in English and French from the University of Yaoundé 1, and a secondary school teacher diploma from the same institution. After teaching for half a decade, he completed a master's degree in translation and intercultural studies at ASTI in the University of Buea. He later moved to the United States and obtained a master's in rehabilitation counseling from Langston University. And he's currently the vice president of the Oklahoma chapter of BCA USA, that's the Bali Cultural Association USA. He's very passionate about his cultural heritage and promotes it in every sphere of life. He's keen to promote mother tongue literacy in African languages, particularly Mungaka. And he has been co-instructor of Mungaka 101 since its inception in 2018 and Mungaka 201 since 2020. So welcome, Miakaba teacher. Kusu.
Wow, thank you very much, man. Fanjikanjamu. All right, well, it is really a pleasure for me to, I must say that I haven't had this experience before. This is the first time that I'm giving this honor to talk on such an august event. So it gives me that pleasure to know that Manyem has come out with this masterpiece. I would call it a masterpiece. When we started this journey in 2018, we didn't know how far we would go, but here we are. If you check, if Nijud, I'm not sure how often you check Manyem's phone, but if you do, you will realize that we communicate in Mungaka. So if someone picks Manyem's phone and was trying to check something, I was talking with Manyem, sorry. So that is a call that you're all welcome on board. You who have decided to join us, Mungaka 101 is going on, 201 is also going on. You're all welcome. So I'm very happy to be part of this program today. If you grew up in Balinyonga, and if you have a copy of this book, there are some words in there that when you look at them, they just kind of throw you memory back. You're like, wow. One of them is cho. Kunka, for those of you who know what cho and kunka are, right? So when you see the picture of cho, and you know what cho is, and you know what kunka is, it makes you think of what you used to do when you were going back or when you're going to the farm, harvesting cho and, you know, kunka and things like that. Some of those animals in the book, as Manyem Raleigh said, are unfortunately extinct, but it is our responsibility to keep these things for posterity. This is a legacy. So I want to say thank you very much, Manyem, for this wonderful masterpiece. Manyem's bona fide dedication when we started Mungaka to 101 in 2018 cannot be overemphasized. She has always been there, asking all sorts of questions. We have disagreed on a couple of things, of course, just like me and Nijun and every other person. But of course, the goal is to be able to make sure that we're on the same plate. So I would like to say that Mungaka, I hold Mungaka that I take it very seriously. Mungaka literacy is very serious. We take it very seriously. And the question of literacy, we have had this debate, and in other walks of life, in other spheres, the question of literacy, if they call you, you are an illiterate in your language, you're an illiterate. Like if you cannot speak or read, if you cannot read and write your language, of course, you're an illiterate, right? But of course, it could be derogatory for someone to be called an illiterate. But we all know if you cannot speak Mungaka, or if you cannot speak your mother tongue, sometimes it is not really your fault sometimes. But I'm afraid that some people in the United States that I have seen, whom I know speak Mungaka, know Mungaka, try to speak Mungaka and Englishize Mungaka. You know what I'm saying? So they speak Mungaka. It's like there is that little complex. There is some complex when they speak Mungaka, or when they identify themselves as speaking Mungaka, or when they introduce themselves. Like, what is your name? My name is Najela. And then she would say, my name is Najela, you know, something like that. They know how to pronounce it, but they want to make it sound English. That is the problem. But I'm so happy that we have this masterpiece. The pictures, Dr. Gomia could not have done a better job. I'm very happy for what he did, what he said. So get a copy of the book and stay informed. So I would switch in Mungaka, of course, we should have been speaking in Mungaka, right? Mbobana, Bobaba, Mbokpa ni Changtinjamu, ni yole Nuba Mundia, ni yole Muni Manyem Via, Yomumbodba i Manyem Via. Nuntama Fanji kan Jamu Mbo Manyem. Machunga nje Munole Yivindia, Yibaba, Nisu Munle. But yole bonjo ibonga bemun, yobonjo ibonga bemun. Mbo nyomu nchunga ye bama bemun oleya abonga bemun jam jame. Bemun jam jame.
Abu.
Mbo bana baba mfabinjika jamu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Igodi. That was wonderful. You couldn't have reiterated that importance of knowing our language. A lot of people are definitely illiterate in their languages. We know that. Most people cannot read it. So you're giving us the opportunity not only to learn the words, but you're giving us the opportunity every week to learn the language. For those that cannot write it or those that cannot read it, putting it in this very simple alphabet makes it possible. So anybody can learn and read in Mungaka. Thank you very much. So we're going to move to our next item on the agenda, which is our story time in Mungaka.
Yes, thank you, Njika and Igodi. So I'm just going to do a short story time as an interlude for everyone. The story is not entirely in Mungaka, so have no worries for people who don't speak Mungaka. So it's an entirely fun English story. Let me share my screen. Can you hear the sound? I forgot
Not
to
yet.
click.
No, you need to share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me do that. There. Okay. It should be okay now.
In a semi-urban area in the northwest region of Cameroon, Bali Nyonga, there was a man called Badinga. Badinga was a real giant, 2.2 meters tall. He was a large man with a very big head, with his neck like the eucalyptus tree trunk. Badinga was a very powerful man. He could crack a stone with his head. If he gave a punch to his opponents, they would collapse and die. He avoided beating children and women with his finger because something else could happen. Badinga was a man who was loved by the Germans. He was recruited into the German army in the era of Dr. Zingraf. Why was he recruited into the army? It is because he could fight and fight many people at a time. Because of his hard work and devotion, Badinga was made in charge of recruitment in the German army. Badinga had a lot of concern and love for the Bali people. Badinga's blood was Bali. He was born and bred Bali. He had special love for them. Since he loved his people so much, he wanted them to be recruited, many of them, into the German army. But he wanted to use a trick. He was also very wise. And how did he do it? He did it by instructing the Bali people, the Bali man, in his native tongue, in Mungaka. When a Bali man arrives for recruitment and he comes late, Badinga will instruct him by singing a song in Mungaka, because he knew very well that the other people around, they will not understand what he's doing, because he wanted the Bali people, many of them, to be in the German army. Listen to Badinga. Yo wani mu tu wala ni yeke lala chomankang. Left, right, kukup kulum. Left, right, kukup kulum. Left, right, kukup kulum. Yo wani mo tu wala ni yeke lala chomankang. Kukup kulum. Kukup kulum. Left, right, a kukup kulum. Left, right, a kukup kulum. Left, right, a kukup kulum. But when a stranger arrives, Badinga from a distance is going to roar like a lion. Hey! Where are you coming from? Do you know that you are late? About 10. I say, go! 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 Badinga will shout at the top of his voice. Badinga recruited many Bali people into the German army. As I'm talking to you, this is my overall that was given to me by my great-grandfather, who was also present as a soldier in the German army. His name was Bava. This is just a story. This is just a story. This is just a story about Badinga, the giant.
Okay, so that was a fun little story that I wanted to ask. I wanted to play out there for us to just have a little fun time with Mungaka. And that segment he said in Mungaka was Badinga. He said when Bali people come, Badinga, he used to tell them in Mungaka that go and stand in the line, go and join the line. And then the people who were not Bali people, when they came late, bad thing, I'll tell them to go away. So that is how he managed to get many people recruited in Bali people recruited in the German army. But it's just a story. So it's fiction, pure fiction. So the thing he was saying in Kulum, left, right, Nchomanka is saying, go and get on the line, go and get on the line. But other people will tell them to go away. So he used the language to make sure people didn't understand what he was saying. So that was just fun. Okay. So thank you all for joining in that story. So maybe I think we should do Q&A. I'm sure people have people have questions. We can do Q&A now.
Okay.
Siri has a hand up.
Okay, Siri, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. Any plans for an audio version of this book? Because that would be very exciting.
Yes, that would be very exciting. I know my niece, Divala, has been on my case asking for their audio version. It will be very helpful, but yeah, that itself is another project. That itself is an entirely different project to do, because you want to have a format where you can actually press the picture and get the sound or the audio go with it. And my brain is not yet at that level, but it's doable. It's something thinking about. Yes, thank you. That will also help our prospective visa applicants.
That is correct. Thank you very much for your question, Sui. We have a Galaxy
Mappy.
Tab.
Yeah, that's Mappy. Let me rename her.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, congratulations, Lilian. I'm so proud of you and this additional resource that you have put into the world. My question is, would you be able to teach someone Mungaka who is not originally from Bali, just in the constant quest for knowledge? You know, someone might be interested. Would you be ready, like, to take them through the basics? Because I realize now, even in the work world, when you go to work, they ask how many languages do you speak. So the importance of teaching languages and learning as much as possible can never be underscored. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining. Yes, we, like Nigodi said, we currently have Mungaka 101 and 102. 101 is really for people who are not speakers, non-native speakers at all, who come there, and we have the basics like learning to greet, names of food, what to say in the afternoon, what to say at night. We currently have that going on, and we advertise it as much as we can for speakers and non-native speakers. And we have lots of our children are on there learning the language as well, and they're really, really excited and keen. That's the place to start. And then for people who are speakers, that wasn't really part of the question, but people who are already speakers of Mungaka, we have Mungaka 201, which is taught in Mungaka itself. And that focuses again on writing the language. But the 101 we have is on basic conversational Mungaka and just understanding basic things like the tones in the language. Yes, thank you. I see Jonathan.
Hello. I want to express my congratulations about your work. I think that it's an unique and singular effort to your language. And in other case, sometimes the circumstance or don't let or don't we can expect the government or other people worry about our language, but if depend of yourself, of we do efforts, but the governmental efforts it's very help these projects. I repeat my congratulations for your work.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know part of the language revitalization efforts that a lot of our communities went through to modernize their alphabets really had some government support with that. But it helps to have that kind of support really long-term in sustaining languages. That would be really good. Lilian.
Yes. First, I don't have any question, but I just have a congratulatory message to you, Lilian, for this wonderful work. It takes a whole lot to go through this, and but for a writer like you, and coming from a literary household, I still congratulate you, because you are a mom, you are a wife, and you are also a daughter, and you have other responsibilities. And to go through this is no easy feat. And so I say congratulations. It would have been, I don't know why our people don't respond to things like this. I mean, I'm not even going to criticize anybody. I do this. I had to come on board here and listen to you and listen to others, because I'm by nature a curious person. So anything intellectual draws my attention. So congratulations once again, sister. And this is a wonderful work. And I just have to say kudos and keep going. Keep going. I know there's no stopping you. This is a wonderful piece of work out there, just one of many things that you do. So congrats. I'm enjoying my book, even though, you know, my kids are confiscating it from time to time, but I'm enjoying it, and they all work. They should buy their own. And I encourage everybody to please just get a copy for your household. If not for anything, just keep it at home with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mali. Ni Fidelis, Casper.
I thought, yeah.
Okay,
Mali,
let me unmute myself and maybe get a video running.
Yes, thank you, Ni Fidelis. And after Ni Fidelis, we'll have Ni Fritz Boga.
Okay, thank you, Mabi. Yeah, I have my own copy of the book here, which I'm enjoying it. These are one of the first copies. And I want to inform everybody, don't be jealous of this. It's proudly signed by the author. So without much ado, I want to congratulate my my sister, friend, and classmate in the Mungaka school, Lilian, for this very beautiful piece of work. And so I say congratulations, really congratulations. I saw this book coming up, and I think this is a real big achievement. What I have to say is, I don't know if it's going to be a question, an expectation, or suggestion, or a critic, but it goes in the line, not really, you know, of asking, because when I look at this book, it looked like it is what we call WIP, which is work in progress. This is like the tip of the iceberg or introduction. So if I were going to ask a question to Mali, is how engaged, you know, are you already thinking about making this volume, this book, to look like what it should be really? Because I think there is still more to do with this thing. Please, I give you a pat on the back. Don't think that I'm trying to ride a willing horse to death. I'm just being honest by saying that there is more. When I look at this book, it provokes me, and I think there is much more to it. So please don't lie on your laurels. You want, I suppose maybe you're already there, but I just want to add my own little ignorant voice that you should be if you have not been there yet. And in that line, I want to to ask a question, because when I look at this book, the book is Mungaka word book. And as a Mungaka student today, I don't know whether I will call it Mungaka scholar or student or people, I have one problem. And like Dr. Gomia said, when you read other people's story for so long, you will be in a different boat. I don't know if I actually, I actually was able to quote him. So there's a problem which is concerning our languages, because we are always trying to look at this language in the eye of the other languages, English in particular. I want to declare I don't like to be called an Englishman. I'm not one. I'm not, I don't feel anything pride in being an Englishman. We look at our own languages in the eye of those people, those strangers. That is why I was having a concern, and one technique which will make this good growth where it is, that this book is not an English Mungaka book. I should not be. For that reason, you said there were birds or other things that you found which are only local to the Northwest province of Cameroon, for example. So if you are going to look for a match for a word in French for that thing, it will never exist. However, I believe, I'm not a writer, I wish I would do that. I believe that books are to educate. Books are also records to save things. So if we don't get those things down as records, they may disappear. And my own suggestion is that this book should not just be a translation. What should not be here because they exist in English. Go around and get the word, anything that has a name in Mungaka, which is present, which was in the past, which was fiction, and that's what you get in this book. If they have an English equivalent, good enough, add them. If they have a French something, they may be local to France and may have a Mungaka name, we do that. That way, this book will have the dimension which is supposed to be. I realized from what you expressed, the difficulty we went to putting this together. I believe that will be a very, very tedious task. I trust in you, you can be able to do it. So really, I'm saying there are many things, names of things in Mungaka, which we would like to put in a book, which like to, somebody can go start writing another book, but this one is already ongoing. So that's why I said work in progress, in which case the thing should be Mungaka word book. It should not be Mungaka word book for word that exists in English or French or German. So this book should be a Mungaka book. I would prefer that they should even wipe off the English names and get people to know those words in Mungaka. Because the English people, they are not translating their books into Mungaka for anybody to understand anything. So we are just being so nice by translating the few, like Ivory Brosses, which I see they call long. I have one. So into this thing. So please, that was just my suggestions. And again, congratulations for this very beautiful piece of art. And thank you for signing my copy.
You're welcome, Nifide, and thank you for all your help in the project as well. Throughout Nifide, we have interesting conversations on our Mungaka 201 class. And it's always very enriching having those conversations, which we do carry on in Mungaka. We write it in Mungaka. So we've come very far from 2018. I'm glad that you are here today to see that this kind of work is out there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nifidelis, Nifritz, and then Nick Gilbert. And the next, after Nick Gilbert, we have guest 5. Your name? Guest 5.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. First, big congratulations to Lilian, to Manium. It's awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Gomia. Thank you very much, Nijut, Dr. Jutu, Nigodi. It's been a great presentation. Lilian, this is like awesome. Thank you for slapping me back into reality. I just it just came to me that my kids may not speak Mungaka, and I don't know who I'm going to blame. That's supposed to be me. So I just come to this realization that I'm not doing my job. Thank you very much for slapping me back into the reality. Thank you, Nigoditi, for reminding me that I've always had a very wrong perception of myself. I always thought I was literate, I thought I could speak English. So now I know I'm illiterate. I will start from scratch. I'm coming for 101 or 201. Thank you very much. All right, I guess just a congratulatory message, not any question per se. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. That's what I got.
Thank you, Nibabga. Miki Benyonka, you're next.
Thank you, Ma. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ma, Lilian, and Nijud. Huge congratulations to you guys. I'm so happy. I'm delighted. I'm still waiting for my copy, but it's an honor for me to know that we have someone who's dedicated to actually tell our story the way it is. We are the only ones who can tell our own story, and Manyem has taken that passion, that dedication to do it. We're so happy, we're so proud about the work she's doing, and we want to pray that she continues to maybe do that with Nijud. The question, I don't know if it's a question, but I'm trying to ask, what is the strategy we have to reach the wider Nyonga folks and interested people who would like to, so this language don't get extinct? Maybe there are Nyonga people all over the globe. So this is a masterpiece, a keepsake, something we really want it to go. People can use it as a yardstick. So what strategy do we have to try to get it maybe to some areas where maybe we have Nyonga folks who are not aware about this kind of project? Because it is true that will make the host of the project be known or big. Thank you. That's just my question. You're mute, Manyem. You're mute, though.
Sorry. Thank you, Nigibet. Yeah, it's a good question. It's challenging in these times of COVID and everything else that is going on in Cameroon. Prior to all what was happening in Cameroon, I know in Bali, Mungaka was being taught in schools, and BCA USA had actually for some time been sponsoring, been paying those teachers, the people who teach Mungaka, were being paid by BCA to teach Mungaka in schools in Bali. But with all what's going on, that's up in the air. As for taking this to other parts of the world, I'm going to do my best. I have people around, England, Europe, Belgium, and all that. Sophie, our queen from Belgium, has been really a great ambassador in putting out the message out there for Cameroonians, for Bali people in Belgium. In the next 48 hours, we're going to have copies available on Amazon. So for people who want to order, I know somebody wanted to order from Australia, and Amazon was the only way because United States Postal Service no longer ships to Australia. So we're going to do our best for the US, just because of travel and anything, but I'm going to do my best to travel. New Gilbert, I plan to come to Yondakum if you will have me and talk about this.
To give you a red carpet reception, I can actually thank
you. So I'm going to travel. I also have plans to go back to my second home in Canada and meet out people out there just as soon as there are restrictions on travel and COVID restrictions permit. But I will do our utmost best to promote it as possible so people get a physical copy. And then if you want an electronic copy as well, we have that option if it's convenient for you to buy a copy and have it on iPad. But yeah, that's about it. We'll use as much as opportunity to put the word out there. But the other thing too is, like Lilian said, it's getting people engaged and understanding the importance of this work. I have been doing this for 2 years on Mungaka, and I have really struggled to get other communities involved. We need to have, I know Nijut has reached out to the Bansok people, Bansok community, just to find somebody out there who's doing similar thing on the language so we can have it published. So it's not just really about Mungaka alone that we want to put a message and have resources out there. We want other languages as well, and we are willing to work with you for as long as you want to put that information and have such a resource out there. That is really important for me. It will be important to have Mungaka resources, but I also like other languages, Cameroonian languages put out there, and other communities engaged in learning to read and write their language, so we can move more people like Nibobga out of illiteracy and into literacy.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Materi, then Mahilda, and Titanuga.
Hello, greetings to everybody. My name, I just want to say congratulations for you and need Jude for a great job. This is so personal to me because my kids, one of them asked me, Mom, is there any book in Mungaka? And at one time when they were a little bit, like they started growing, and one of them said, Mommy, how come you made us to do so many things apart from teaching us to speak Bali? And then one of them said, is it because Daddy came study in America? You know, I can't really answer that question because both parents being Bali, the children understand, but they don't speak. So I just tell myself that when I, learn about your book, I said, well, it's not late. I tell them that you can still learn it. So I'm not only going to buy my copy, I'll say, okay, it's present from mommy to all of you. I'll buy copies for all of them. So I just want to say a job well done, and thank you so much. It's really going to be useful to this our generation, especially children born here. I mean that, they are not really open to Bali like we used to do with our own parents. So good job, keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Auntie Terry. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mahilda.
Unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone, and special congratulations to Dr. Lilian. Lilian and I, we've come a long way from the University of Boyer. She continued to, portray herself the way she was since our university days. Dr. Lilian, thank you very much. The importance of languages cannot be overemphasized. Like presently we work in different fields. I had an experience one time I went to work, and when I got reports, I'm a nurse, and from the name, I knew it was a Cameroonian, but the report was that this patient was nonverbal. Meanwhile, it was a language barrier. I come from Babatu. Babatu, is a neighboring village to Bali, but this lady was from Bengui. So immediately I went into that lady's room and I spoke to her in the dialect. This lady was brightened up. She started speaking, so all our assessment was in the dialect. So I went out, I told my coworkers, I said, that lady is not non-verbal, it's just a language barrier. So at least I was so proud of myself that, I could speak to this lady in the dialect, and, the assessment was perfect. So every time before I leave work, I will emphasize, to my colleagues that if you need to talk to that lady, call her family. Don't ask questions from her because she's verbal. It's just a communication barrier. So Dr. Lilian, what you are doing, we cannot overemphasize the importance. I don't know how you can, get, your records so we can share it with our own different groups so that people can begin to see the importance of teaching their kids the dialect, because, you can never go wrong, speaking your own dialect. I remember my early childhood, primary school, we used to go to Bali Market. I'm so glad when Nigodi, use some of those words in Bali. I can still remember Sanjab, Musang, and how do they use Ngwa food, and all things Sanjabaka, like that. So it brings me back to my early days, with how we used to learn to speak Bali. So I'm so happy that you did this. So I'm waiting. I will get my own copy of your book and even get some copies to share with members of my family. So congratulations, keep up the good job.
Thank you. Thank you, Hilda. Thank you for joining. Yes, we go a long way. I go back a long way, Hilda. Hilda Azam. Hilda, and if you have people who are, working on a similar thing in Baba, please, by all means, tell them about this book, and tell them that we are publishers too that are interested in having such resources out there so that people in your community can have such a resource in their language. It's very important. So thank you. Fanjika.
Okay, Tita Nuga and then my eye. You're muted.
Manye,
Yes, Mo.
Congratulations. You see, I'm stuck in a parking lot somewhere because somehow I missed this. I couldn't miss. I missed the time, but I couldn't miss this launch. So, but I just want to congratulate you. We started this Mungaka learning. I think we were the first cohort of class. So we are classmates, but you have distinguished yourself. You've always done so. So it's no surprise to anybody with this work, which would stay with us. I just wanted to say a few things about reaching the wider audience. I was surprised my cousin, who's my pera, right? My mom's younger sister, but they are Batu. She sent me, something on WhatsApp. She found it on Facebook. So what I'm saying is that your Facebook page, the online presence is helping, because this my cousin knew the group. They never wanted to do anything about it, but she's found a new love for Mungaka because she saw stuff like that online. So it's reaching people, and people are getting interested. And another thing too is that Mungaka is something that it's a language that people already, like the last speaker just said, it's a language that resonates with a lot of people. It's easy, and people like Bali people, so people like to present. So our online presence should also be encouraged, and we should have, since we have these pictures, it's going to draw and attract a lot of people. And for people who I have, even my own my nephews and my nieces, they are the lost. Some of them are blaming us for not teaching them. Well, I refer them. So please refer your nieces, your nephews, your children to these resources that are available, because this is the whole reason why I think need you started this project, so that people should not have excuse for not speaking, learning their mother tongue. So thank you for this work, and the PS team, you go, guys.
Tita. Thank you. One of my peer reviewers too from the Mungaka 201 class who actually went through this work. Thank you. I appreciate your presence here.
Okay, let's have Mai, then Batita, Mamari. So Mai, unmute, please.
Hi, congratulations to you, Lilian. One of the things that is really exciting, but by the way, Tita, why do I always have to come after you? But anyway. Anyway, it was just good to see you. So thank you so much for this work. One of the things that is going on, everybody knows that the world is going berserk. People are acting as if they don't have a sense of identity. So I'm really happy that one of the things that Lilian and Nijud have done is just focus, and Nigodi, not to forget Nigodi, have worked hard on just making sure that with all the chaos in the world, that we can know where we belong to promote this language. Because if you don't know where you come from, you won't know where you're going. And then you get caught up with all the craziness. So I thank you, Lilian, so much. And if Nifide is out there, Nifide, let me show you. I have a signed copy too. So anyway, so I was trying to brag, but I was trying to brag when Nifide got his book. But I can't do selfies, so I'm still learning. But thank you so much. And I just hope that most Bali people, especially, they will know where they come from. Because all the craziness that is going on in the world today, if they knew who their forefathers were, we had conquered. So we don't need to be followers. So anyway, but I'm praying to the Lord because all that nonsense has to end. Thank you, Manyem, and keep up the good work. Thank you, Nifide.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ma'ai.
Thank you.
Batita William. Unmute, please.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you?
Okay. Well, I have only 3 things to share. First of all, my Irene, it's been a long time. I want to say hello.
That's good.
Yes. I just want to say 3 things. First, from a family point of view, want to congratulate Lilian, our daughter, our mother, our family, and you make us so proud. I know everybody has expressed that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and that Ndangam has led the way in terms of furthering, the cause of Bali in many, many ways. But that notwithstanding, from the family, we want to congratulate you. We want to say more of you to come in terms of what we expect in the future. So thank you for this piece of art. The second thing I wish to not ask, but it is clear in looking through the book and everything else, for those of us that experience Bali a little bit, we want to make and tie bridges, to many ends. Mungaka, as most of you know, all our names are based on that. That Mungaka extends, to the different chambers that we have. So if we're thinking in terms of where we go from here, Mungaka sits in the middle, but you have Mungaka, you have the other languages, the T languages. I really would love, to get more lessons in terms of Mungaka and how it came about. As you well know, there's a history behind that. But I think, building bridges in all of these directions will certainly expand all of the things that, we are curious about, and look forward to that going on. And Lilian, Nibody, and I will be talking to Nibody when we meet on other occasions about where we go with this. And this is great. The last thing I want to do is that I will be sharing a story with Nibody and Lilian in the future. But I just want to point out that this language is significant. The significance of language is extremely important. Back in 1970, when I just got a master's degree in business administration, and for one reason or the other, because we were in the forefront of all of these things, the U.S. Department, the Peace Corps movement hired me. And then they wanted me to do an evaluation of this Peace Corps movement in West Africa. Cut a long story short, I ended up in Cameroon, and and we had to assess, we had to evaluate what the Peace Corps people were doing. And there was a transition about not just going to teach English and so on, but trying to do some professional type of projects. And so one of the projects that Peace Corps people put on the table was the fish pond movement. And I don't know whether some of you may be familiar with the fish pond movement, but it took on like wildfire, particularly in the Northwest region. And leading this project in the Northwest region were Bali people. And they didn't do it in Bali, they did it in the other villages of the Northwest. And so the Peace Corps wanted to commit a lot of resources, to this particular project that they were going to push, the fish pond movement. And so I went to this particular place to evaluate, that project, the fish pond movement. then lo and behold, I found that everybody who was running a fish pond in this, they were all Bali people. And the continuation of that project, of that movement, was going to be based on the results of that evaluation. I got there, and in 1970, I had a big afro and so on and so forth. All of the Bali people there, they didn't know me. They thought I was, Black American and so on and so forth. And so we had a gathering of about 50 people, and they were supposed to give their stories about the success of this project. But needless to mention, it was going to be a Bali group presenting the results of this fish pond movement and so on. And some of you have heard about the false flag movement. This is what's going on with Ukraine and Russia and all, so false flag. And Bali people were so wise, they decided on what they were going to say about the fish pond movement, none of which had anything to do with the fish pond movement that was going on. And so they went on and they put forth a story. And Lilian has shown us another story about recruitment into the police force. This particular story had to do with the Bali people determined that that fish pond project had to continue. I won't tell you the story about what happened here, but I will share that with Lilian and Nigodi at some point. But let me just say that particular assessment, that evaluation, not only saved that project, it did determine whether or not the Peace Corps and the U.S. Department were going to continue with that. And the Bali people, came up with a strategy to make that project survive. I say all of this because language, as we know it, might not be so important in terms of its significance, but situations do arise when that language becomes critical in making certain things go on. This was a milestone, and this was back in 1970. So I really want to thank, Lilian, Igodi, and everybody associated with this. And for the rest of us, encourage us that just being able to participate in language, speak the language, share the language, might have outcomes that you have not determined. You do not know where you're going to end up with it. But I really think that it's a great thing for us to acknowledge this language, not only in terms of our culture, but in terms of the significance in the world. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, for the interest of time, I'm going to ask that we keep our comments to 1 minute. We'll take 3 more questions and we'll move to the next item. Ma Marie, Ma Frida, Nick Kenneth, and Dr. Eprenye. So that'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just add my own congratulatory message to Manyem and everyone who, it takes a village to build what you put out. And proudly speaking, this is my copy. I've had it for more than a month here, so everybody get your own. And I just want to say, re-emphasize what Ba William Tita and Ma Hilda said before about the significance of language. Ma Hilda had this experience with a patient, and I am a nurse, and I can imagine what a difference it made in the life of that patient when she could say something to the understanding of that patient. And it made a lot of difference. And sometimes people don't really realize that if you cannot speak English, that doesn't really necessarily mean that you are dumb. And I always tell my students, I say, my parents they never knew the 4 walls of a school, but they were very, very much educated in their culture, and you cannot even dare call them illiterate. So knowing a language is really significant. And one other way besides what we heard from Willie, Tita, and Ma Hilda giving their illustration is that You may be called whenever you fill out these forms, they tell you what other languages do you speak. You may find yourself in the court of law, they call you to come and interpret something because somebody is coming to court who only speaks Mungaka. And they go through the list and find out all those people who had said they know Mungaka, and you become so useful for the government. So know you are Mungaka. Manyem, I really thank you for this book, but there are some 2 pages there are very carefully skipped because they have pictures of snakes. And for one reason or the other, I don't know whether my mother gave birth to me close to any of them. I cannot look at their pictures. I cannot touch them. I see them on TV, I'm creeping away. So those 2 pages, I have no idea what is written on them. Immediately I saw the side reptiles, I began opening 2 pages at one time. But Ma, this is great because we can teach people who don't know how to read and write. And Lydia is one of those persons. I'm trying to see if she can learn a word or 2 in Mungaka. So Ma, thank you. Keep up the good work. And we are all challenged as Bali people to put our history out in any form, whatever thing you can remember, write it out. Look, the generation is coming and going, and we need to leave our mark. And if you can just describe some of those stories, you will leave something very beautiful for people. Look, when I saw the word, what is amen? The word amen in Mungaka, I would have just come up with a statement, Anja Abu, but coming here, I saw other ways to express it. So you may think you know it all, but others have better ways of expressing it. So thank you, my dear. Keep going. We are behind you, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Let me say, Mama Marie just reminded me of a story, something that happened to me a few years ago. Our oldest daughter, Tracy, she came from Cameroon, and we put her in the school system. And you know, here you can't go to school without vaccines. You need vaccination records. And because she had come from Cameroon and all her vaccinations were done in Cameroon, we don't have those records, as we don't keep them as diligently as they do here. So she went to school, and I'll get these letters from the school, like, send records of this vaccine, send records. And I said, those are childhood vaccines. She had them in the childhood. Unfortunately, I don't have records. So they kept sending those letters, and at some point I just ignored them. And then this went on for a while, and the school thought probably I don't speak English. So one day I get a call from some person in Ohio or Pennsylvania who was a Mungaka speaker. And they left a voicemail on my phone. Say, hello, ma, mfung bindangwani mfunganga mun to get vaccination ba. Ungwani mumbo kanjam ukufa butuba. Money fund translator. So this person had enrolled, you know, the thing they tick there that what other languages do you speak? And school boards have access to this data. And because on my daughter's school reporting, what other languages are spoken in the home, we have them Mungaka. Now they had looked in their database to find somebody who was a Mungaka speaker to work with families. And they found this woman in Ohio. And I get this message from this woman saying, I'm calling you because this school board in Colorado has reached out to me because they are trying to reach you as a parent, talk about the vaccination record of your child, and you are not responding. And I had a good laugh. I don't know, bless this woman in Ohio who called, and I called the person back and explained to her that no, it's not that I don't speak English, but it's because I did not have the records. I've explained to these people that these records exist. They're in Cameroon and we cannot find them. She has had these vaccinations. So, but that was quite interesting, like to come and get a message on my phone on somebody speaking my language and calling on behalf of the school. And this is how far the school will go. you know, to look after a child and, you know, their interest in school. So that I just thought I should share that after Marie spoke. And Marie, thank you again for help. I know I reached out to you when I was looking for the name for a midwife. You had done a lot of that work in Cameroon. I was looking for the name of a midwife in Mungaka. And I thought it was Ndangam-V, and you reminded me, yeah, you on mute.
Ndangam-V.
Ndangam-V, Ndangam-V.
Ajam di baba mungwi, so Ndangam-V.
Yeah.
Ma Helen Ndangam Senior can correct me if it doesn't sound correctly.
Yeah.
So
Bumbankuna.
Ndangam-V.
It's correct. Mankuvio. Bumankuviga.
Yeah, and Joe Wamba Fang Joe Fangwen Bungwe.
But the Fangwen now.
I go Fangwen Bono. Abuga midwife Bumbang Jamu.
Oh, midwife
Okay, let's move on. We'll connect.
Fangwen Manda VMA.
Yes, let's finish this and then we get into the playground.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's have Frida. You're next.
Oh God.
So this has been very, very enlightening. I've learned a lot. And I'm so happy that I joined this book launching today, because language empowers, and you know, language unites, and language is love. Because I know in the house here, sometimes when we speak in Bali, the kids keep grumbling and complaining that, oh, we don't want them to know what we are saying, even though we are both Balis. So I'm still waiting to get my own copy of this book as soon as possible so I can share it with all the kids. I mean, they've been asking, how can we get to know this language? To the point where, if I'm not mistaken, I think 1 or 2 of them registered in the Mungaka 101 or 102. So this is my present for them for this season. Thank you. Thank you, Manyan. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you. Thank you, my doctor. And we want our student back. She's been missing. The doctor. Tell her to come back to class.
It's time. The time.
Yes.
Nice.
Hi, Auntie.
Is it Candice?
Yes. Hi, Auntie Lilian.
Hi.
I just wanted to say thank you for making this book. My mother brought it for us to practice so we can learn how to speak Mungaka. And I just wanted to say that next time, so that, you know, we can practice better when there's not people around, that you can put like an English pronunciation so that we can like sound it out and, you know, get a better understanding. But I really love the book and we're very thankful for it. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Candice. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. We would work to improve things, yes. And see you in class tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye, Auntie.
Okay, bye, Yenny.
Okay, next, Dr. Ekpene.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Tugbani Bomatua. I hope that's Bali. Tugbani, okay. Greetings to all my nieces and all my bas in the house. Lilian, congratulations. I just really wanted to make sure that I said something before you know, we move on to the next thing. For several different reasons. I wear several different hats like you do. First of all, I just want to represent all the other people who were supposed to be here and they're not. I'm talking about other fellow Cameroonians and other scholars, etc. So some of us are here to represent that. I'm here grading and just enjoying everything as well. Also, just as one who dabbles into this field, I know what it is to have this pregnancy, right? Writing a book and bringing it to public. I call it that long pregnancy that you're just waiting to give birth. So I really want to congratulate you. And also to say, I shared this with you. I work on the Bakosi language as well. I have the Nyoka Kosa, which is the premier book for Akose language out there, as well as translation. That's some of the work I did with Qatar and SIL in Yaoundé before I left. So I just wanted to share that and to congratulate you and to see how this work is developing and growing. Lastly, I also want to bring everybody's attention. Some people have put forward today examples of where our languages are needed, whether it's in the hospital or in the courts. I also just want to draw everyone's attention, as Victor and other people here mentioned today, that languages are growing now. We may think that they're dropping off, but it is who is it that's putting their work forward or their own language forward. For instance, when I teach, we have Igbo and Hausa and Yoruba and all these other languages, and the African languages are the fastest growing languages now in terms of interest out there. So this is work that needs to be done. We need to be featured. No language from Cameroon is on there yet, on that list yet. Even go to community colleges these days, the African languages are the fastest growing. So I just wanted to put that out there for those of us here who have children, who have young people who are trying to encourage to look at alternatives, or even things that are coming to the limelight now, that African languages, the ones that are being studied and doing exactly what Lilian just did, is what's out there now. Thank you, Lilian, and congratulations again.
Thank you. I'm so happy to hear about your work on the Akose language. Really good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's quite exciting to know there are people doing this work. Like I said, we're doing this on the eve of Mother Tongue Day, and it'll be really glad to see, it'll be really exciting to have a lot of these works out there, a lot of communities. So thank you for coming here. Unfortunately, my Bakosi fails me too much, so I will give it to my friend Prudence to carry on for me.
That's a place to start.
Yes. So yeah, thank you. I know Tita Nyuga talked about the Facebook. I also run a Facebook page called Mungaka Language Hub. And I really just put basic stuff there for people to learn. So do check it out if you can, and like the page for more resources. I just want to put that out there. Maps, you have one more thing? Then we can go to quiz. Please check the quiz.
Just really short. Congrats again, because you mentioned this while you were presenting. This is what they have in Quen, which also serves as a guide for teaching the language. And someone asked how you were going to spread the Mungaka language and literature so that more people can get to know. One of the things that is happening now is the people who collaborated to put this book together, my mom is one of them. Now they have decided to be using Sunday evenings, once every 2 weeks, to try to teach people using the virtual means, the Zoom. So that's, they're taking advantage of the virtual world now to also teach many more people in the diaspora. And sometimes we are in the class, our children, the grandchildren are in class, and it's spreading. So it might be some best practice to look into as well. So you can reach out to diverse populations across the world and also send across your message. It's just, it could be an additional platform. Another thing they do to try to spread out the language and teach many more people is during the holidays, especially the long holidays, they would organize language courses in the church. The church is a place where people gather. So they teach school children who ordinarily during the school year would be very busy, or others who come to the village. Okay, now given the context in which we are operating back in the country, that has reduced a bit, but they still try to find avenues to insert training sessions from time to time, so many more people can get to use the book as a resource and actually learn from it. And then another thing is they try to work with cultural organizations in different countries. So they provide copies of the books to the various cultural organizations so that the members of the organizations can encourage other Quen people to buy, starting by buying the books themselves, and then they encourage other people who are either members of the organization or other Quen people who may not even be part of the Quen cultural organizations to also get the book. And I think they're doing a good job in that light. Many more people are now aware. And when they do teach, they give homework and little things. So you're forced to actually refer to the book and open the pages. I just moved to Italy and I had to pack this to bring it with me. So it's like a second Bible, so I just thought I should bring that on as you put in place your strategy to send across the book to the world and more people to benefit from it as a resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mabi. That is really, really good initiative and something we can really learn from. Thank you. So we would pause on this segment for now and move on to our fun quiz. Mbana.
Yes, so we'll move to the fun quiz again. Check the chat
Check
how
the chat and how to join. I'm going to share my screen in a bit so you can get the link directly from the screen. We have 5 people who have joined so far. So keep joining, everybody. You don't have to know Mungaka. It's fun. If you don't, answer the question correctly, you will learn. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Okay, so I'm going to share so those who are not yet on and see. So we have what, 7 people? Keep joining. Just enter that menti.com, go to menti.com and enter those numbers. Okay. As a fun prize, the winner, the first person gets a free copy of the Mungaka alphabet book, which is the alphabet that you learn in order to be able to read Mungaka and write Mungaka. So do join. I know one of the people who bought the book, I will not say their name, was complaining that they couldn't read it, that it looked like Chinese. So I hope you're here today. And you can play with it for a chance to win the alphabet book where you can get the basics of the language. So keep signing. It's 12 people on 13, 14. Good. Exciting. So with this quiz, you have to keep 2 things in mind. Getting the answer correctly and also getting it fast enough. Okay. So I'll give room for one more and then we start. If there's any one last person who wants to join, here's your opportunity. Okay, we got 15. We're going to start. Okay, you ready? First question. Okay. Mungaka is a tonal language. How many tones are there in Mungaka? Okay. So we have 6 people got the 7, and the right answer is 4. So we have the high tone, we have the low tone, we have the rising tone, and the falling tone. Okay, so let me give an example. Ba, okay, you hear ba, we call titles and men, ba, or father of a child, ba. Hear how it sounds. Ah, it's going up, it's high. But then if I say ba, you hear the difference there, the tone changes. It's going down, ba, which can be we, meaning we, okay? They say Bali people named all the villages around them. So Ba, Menda, although I'm saying it wrong now. If I say Ba, it's rising tone, okay? So Ba, you hear the difference in the tones there. So Ba, Menda, the people of Menda. Okay, so Mungaka has 4 tones, the high, low, falling, and rising. So if you had 4, that is the correct answer. Let's see who got those responses. Bad teacher. Okay.
How can bad teacher be participating?
Okay, but bad teacher,
no.
If bad teacher wins, he will be his participation will be, they will give the prize to the second winner.
I just put in the chat that I would donate if I win.
Yay! You donate.
Donate to me.
So that's the leaderboard. Let's go to the next question. Okay, answer fast to get more points. How many letter and sound combinations are there in Mungaka? Five seconds. Good, good. So all the people who said 29, I got it right. We have 29 alphabet letter and sound combinations in Mungaka. And it's not the three people who said 3 are obviously basing it on the English language, which Nifige said we shouldn't. So that's the right answer there. Let's see the leaderboard after that. Okay, Niju.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
Okay.
Good. Okay, good job. New Frank, good job. Hang in there. Okay. Next one. Question 3. Mantan is the name of a girl child born on which day? Mantan is a Bali girl's name. What day is that child named after?
Yes.
So Mantan is the name given to a girl child born on Tanbani. Okay.
Don't kick me out.
Oh wow. Milltown crew, I'm impressed.
Yes, so we are coming.
Well done. Ni Frank is now taking the lead over Niju. And Ni Fidelis is moving up close. Siri was the fastest. Well done. So hopefully it's a fun quiz and many people get to learn some few things about Mungaka and Bali. Mungaka does not have which 2 letters of the alphabet, the English alphabet? Think quick, think. Very good. Very good. 9 people got it right. Letter R and Z, one of those. And I think we don't also have Q. So yeah, so Mungaka, people will say, ni Lobot instead of Robert. Or is it Tikali instead of Tikali? So it doesn't have the arrow. Let's see who got it fast enough. And bet that keeps the leaderboard. Oh, Nifide is at the top now. Things are shifting. Very good. 5, question 5. How many vowel sounds are there in Mungaka? Very good. Oh, sorry. No, that's wrong.
No.
Okay.
Wrong.
It's supposed to be 6.
No.
No, you can't change. You can't change it now.
Sorry, the right answer is 6.
Yes, it's 6.
It's
It's 6. Thank you.
The right answer is 6. Sorry.
I got it.
Yes, so.
I didn't get that. Sorry.
So correct it. How do you correct
Correct it. It's 6.
I cannot correct it now when the quiz is in progress.
Oh. Those of us who had 6, what do we do?
Sorry.
We're getting a copy of the book for sure. Those of us.
So Niju, you got the fastest. You got the answer wrong the fastest.
No,
yeah.
I have the right answer.
Well, I do.
I apologize for that error. Okay, hopefully you make up. If you know your tones, you can use the example I gave earlier. Ntan is the correct spelling.
How can I correct my answer?
So that's where we talk about tones, right? If you put this tone here, it's Ntan. It's Ntan. If you put this one here, which is the rising, is Ntan. Tan. So the right one is Ntan. Market. My friend Milda, they used to go to Ntan. You can go Mantan. Bali.
Okay.
This is when our Mungaka, the people who have been learning Mungaka, they all got that right. Very good. New noobs. New Francis with the fastest. Very good.
Seeing potential 201 students.
Yes, yes. Very good. Which animal is called Ngunyam?
In 0.3 miles, traffic light, camera ahead.
No, who's driving? Which animal is called Ngunyam? Yeah, that's one that easily confuses people, right?
I answered too quickly and I knew the.
You answered wrong.
Yes, and I knew the correct answer, but I just punched it too quick.
Okay, so it's a leopard, not a tiger. We don't have tigers. Tigers are not indigenous to Africa. So let's not get confused. It's a leopard. Very good. New Frank, very good. New Fide is now in the lead, closely followed by Niju. Mafo is in third. We're getting two more questions. How many weekdays does the Balinyanga calendar have? Ooh, this was answered so fast. Sure, so many people are getting it right.
We're trying to take the lead.
Awesome. 16 people got it right. Yes, Balinyanga operates on an 8-weekday calendar. And following on that, let's see.
What are the 8 days?
Go,
Oh, yes. There's a whole list, Gims. I'll show you. And it rotates, yeah. Okay, Nifide, well done. Nifide is battling it out with Niju. Question 9 of 10. What day of the week is it in Bali today?
Where's my calendar?
Tumbu, tumbu.
Oh, don't make tumbu tumbu.
That's a few years old.
Time is up, Niju, too late.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Tambutu.
When you're guessing, never choose A. That's a trick for all American students who do pass exams.
That's a good one.
If you are guessing, never choose A.
Okay. A boy child born on this day can be called Fombutu.
Right.
And what comes after Ntanbutu?
Jifun.
Tomorrow will be
Jifun.
Jifun. Tomorrow will be Jifun. Okay. Market day. Tomorrow is market day in Bali. Let's see who got that right. Nifide.
Nifide, that tumbu worked on.
Hey, see me down up there.
I'm just
answer fastest. Wow.
That's not what I did. I'm just helping some people.
Wow. I wonder.
They need you how to have corrupt.
Can a person answer fastest be the winner of the whole thing? like today for this quiz. Because think about it, you have to know your days of the week. If you don't know your days of the week, you have to be disqualified from this game today. So I think that we should just align now that those who got this right and the fastest is a winner.
Yeah, you can
Last question. Last chance to redeem yourself. Final. Antelope. Ooh, so many fast answers.
If you're going to guess, you might as well guess fast.
Try, and I still did A, and that my guess. Wahala did. You see? If today was right. Never guess A.
Ngap. Yes. Ngap.
Okay.
Although I spelled it wrong now. Yes, it's Ngap. It's supposed to be the curved end. Which is the same. Nyat is buffalo and Gan is crocodile. Okay. Get the book. You'll see all those things in it.
Where is Mbamdo now? Bring things I will grow up with.
If today is the winner. Well done, Ifide.
You have to take into consideration that I did not start up with everybody because I'm at work, so I joined in late after about 5 questions have gone by.
Yeah, you.
I know. That's just an excuse.
Just saying.
So thank you, Nifide. I think Nifide, you already have a copy of that book, right?
Let Nifide
Yes, I
not
already have a
think
copy
that
of the
you
book.
beat me to
You
it.
already have a copy, so we're going to give the book to
second place.
So
you
there's
already
the
have a copy
copy.
too.
Second place has a copy.
Who is Nemo? Who played as Nemo?
I think Pascal Chani.
Okay, Ni Pascal, you will get a copy of the book.
Yay! You're the best.
If my God is a real Cameroonian, 3rd place and the happiest in the world.
I mean, this is.
Yeah, Ni Pascal. So if you can drop your address on the chat, Nijud will be able to mail. We have
This
that.
is unlike being a champion.
Very unlike being in second place.
This is unlike being a
So
champion.
the first place winner was disqualified, and the second place.
Can we check who was the first in Delaware?
That's going too far.
Delaware is the first state. Delaware is the first state, so we'll leave it there.
How about taking the first?
Who
How
was
about
the
taking the
first
first from the bottom? First from the bottom.
I feel like
Can we
it's
take a
from
non-Bali
the Biden state.
Oh, I support that.
Can we take a non-Bali person? I am one.
Yes.
Right
Yes.
here from the one.
Wait, that's true.
Who played? Who played?
Mafo is the first from the bottom.
Okay.
Yay!
The best loser.
Mafo is the best loser. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing. I hope you also learned. It was fun, but also meant to be educational. In letting us know a few things about.
Absolutely.
Answer the first question. I didn't know that I was supposed to look on my phone.
Oh, I see you
answer
came
the
from
first
back
question.
and still won. That's something. But thank you all. Thank you all for playing along.
Thank you. It's interesting.
Yes, it was fun. I just thought we should have some fun as part of this. So next thing on the program, Anna, I think it's
yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for playing. That was really fun, and I'm sure we got to learn some new words. So read your books so that the next quiz will be easier. Okay, so where's Bar? I'm looking for Bar. There's a time that Bar gets to say something. Nijut, can you spotlight him, please?
Let me look for him.
Yes, Bandangam.
What's the name?
Bandangam. That's how his
What,
name is.
what name are you going by there? There's no bar there.
Now Helen's laptop.
But okay.
I'm using now Helen's laptop.
Okay.
It's on Batitamoko. I think the
No, you
sound-
shouldn't on Batitamoko.
I've changed it.
Okay, they've changed
So,
it. Okay.
Yes, we changed it.
Papa, your video is not on.
My video is not on.
Yeah.
Okay, we can change it. Let me go and check.
No, put your hand
Then
on
you
the
go and
top
take Mama's own.
and open it. I think he closed the camera.
Yeah.
If you put your hand on the top where you have the light showing on your computer, the camera light,
Yes.
you should turn it on from there.
You want to you?
If you give me 2 minutes, IT support will be there.
You don't see my hand.
No.
No,
Okay,
if you-
if you want is on his way, he's going to fix it for you.
Okay, let me put it.
While we get that, is there any other comment?
Why don't you
So for those who don't know,
just listen? I can talk, you just listen.
we'd like to see you too.
We'd like to see your face.
That's what Zoom is about.
It's supposed to be a virtual meeting.
I think he's just going to switch places with Mama.
No, the camera is closed. If he puts his hand over, it should be-
Oh, I see. Mhm.
Yeah. So where you have that light, that camera light showing, right there, that's where its finger probably went over. So for those who don't know about Bandangam, that's Manyem's daddy. So like Prudence said, the apple doesn't fall really far from the tree. This one is really on the tree. This apple is actually on the tree. It hasn't fallen yet. So, so all of her interest in the language is really from her parents, especially Ba. When I did my thesis, he was one of the people that really contributed a lot in my data collection. So I know that he is a walking library when it comes to Mungaka. So let's give him the opportunity to say something about the book and about the language. So Ba, over to you.
You need to unmute now. Papa, can you unmute?
Will.
Okay.
I just support marriage.
Can I be seen now? Am I seen now?
Apparently, the camera thing is not activated, basically.
So just switch phone.
Right.
Yeah,
So he logged in. He probably logged in without the camera.
He is. You get him to
There were two
spotlight the other
different
name.
Yeah,
There's
there
another
were two different bandangams. Just spotlight the other one.
Yeah, he's fine now. IT support has
Is it
arrived.
all right now?
Yes,
Yes.
Ba.
All right.
Well, you need to spotlight him. I think the wrong one is being spotlighted.
No, it's fine. He's spotlighted.
No, the one I spotlighted is not showing.
Spotlighted. The
You
old one.
spotlighted the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
There you go, Ba. We are seeing you now.
Okay. Moderator and participants, I would like to speak going backwards. What I wanted to say going from beginning to end, I will begin from the end. I'd like to make some remarks on what I have heard. I may make the remarks and they are controversial, but it's important that I do. The first remark I want to make is the idea that is mentioned in passing, whether it's a joke, but some people say it quite seriously as a historical fact. And it is the idea that the particle in the language, in a language called Ba, B-A, Ba, it comes from the fact that Bali people gave the names of all the tribes in the Northwest or elsewhere. It's a very good joke, and I think Bali people are proud of that. But if you want an idea which is historical, which is linguistic, and fact, that idea is wrong. The particle in the language Ba, as in Bafocho or Bambalang, as in in Bali, it means the people of. In Mungaka, it means the people of. But anybody who has done serious studies, and historians will tell you that the meaning of that particle is a Bantu particle. All areas of Bantu have that word, that particle. The Bali people, the Mungaka people, came from the northern Cameroon. They traveled through the grasslands. All the tribes there that are called Ba, they were not the ones who gave it. It's just that word is a common Bantu particle, and our ancestors came and remained where they are now. They did not go down into the south because their own environment from where they came in Chamba was a grassland environment. And they reached the edge of the forest beyond where we are now. And they didn't like to go into the forest. They were not a forest people. So if you go down to the southwest, you have tribes like Bakweri, you have, beginning with Ba, you have Bakundu, Bakosi. These are the same particle because these are Bantu areas. Out of Cameroon, you have this particle. In fact, wherever there are Bantu people. So that is the fact of history and of linguistics. But I know the Bali man is proud to say, yes, we gave the names of that. It may be a good joke. So let's distinguish jokes from reality of facts of history and linguistics. Just wanted to give that view. But those who want to call it and want to be serious about it, you go ahead with your views. I just wanted to give the view that experts will you go into studies, you will find that what I'm saying is correct. The other remark I wanted to make was, I don't know whether I jotted it down. I want to, the group that is handling the studies of Mungaka practically as a school, I can take upon myself to give this advice, suggestion that we should concentrate. I'm saying this to the director of the school. I want to suggest that we should concentrate on two areas. Those who want to study Mungaka to speak, and those who we should not introduce technical things into the studies at this level. The word vowels and consonants and things like that, or their names, those are specialized words. Those are very specialized words. And if we use it, we can mislead the people who are studying now. They may not know what those words mean. We should avoid it. We can talk about sounds, about letters of the alphabet and the sound, because they will understand what the sound means. If we use those technical things, they're at this level, they are not prepared. They are not, if they go into higher studies, into tertiary education, want to do a degree and choose to write papers in Mungaka, that is when they must use precise words and technical words, vowels and sounds and so on. If you, at this level, you talk about vowels or consonants, will confuse them because that you will not be using those words correctly. English, for instance, when you talk of vowels, they look at the alphabet and say there are 5 vowels in English. Actually, in English, there are 22 vowels and 22 consonants, making a total of about 44 sounds. In Mungaka, there are more vowels than in English, certainly more, and more consonants than in English. So if you're talking about vowels and consonants, you'll be talking about something near 50 sounds. So I just suggest, it's advised, I'm suggesting that we use sounds and so on. The number wouldn't matter. The number wouldn't matter. All right, that was one remark. The other remark, as I listened, was a question of psycholinguistics when Godi was talking. You may speak one, first, let's start with people who speak more than one language, 2 or 3. Or even you yourself, you may speak French or English and Bali and Mungaka. Out of those 2, you don't speak them equally. One is called your first language, and the other one, the second language or other languages. If we take just those of us who are here, if I ask you what is your first language, a man who is not trained in language will obviously say my first language is Mungaka. But a linguist will want to ask you certain questions, and he may tell you, no, you speak English, you speak Mungaka, your first language is English, not Mungaka. That is, a linguist looks at it from a different point of view. Your first language is not the one that you were born and you learned. If you are bilingual or trilingual, the first language is the one that you operate with, that in your private thinking. Even if you are alone, do you think in English or in Mungaka? And for you to find out what is your first language, if you're alone, what language do you think in? What language do you yourself, when you pray in? Is it in English or Mungaka? That language, the linguist will call it your first language. You think in it, you pray in it, and even in your house, you are with your children, you are with your husband, your wife. What is the language that automatically you speak naturally? That comes to mind. It may not be Mungaka, even though you were born and you learn Mungaka first. That is your first language. It's something, it is not that I choose that my first language is this. No, it's something with in the area of psycholinguistics. So again, we should get that one. It came in the conversation. I wanted us to clear that one. Then another interesting thing which Batita spoke and asked as a question was the origin of Mungaka. Mungaka, and he talked and mentioned Bati language. Mungaka is actually, in origin, is Bati, the language of Bati tribe near Bamong. And the reason Batita talked Mubako, mentioned Mubako, the relationship is that all Chamba tribes, all the Chamba tribes spoke Mubako and speak Mubako till now. But Mubako is extinct in Balenyonga because in the migration, when they split into 7 groups and each group went each way, Bali first walked, Bali Nyonga first moved, their own group first moved to near Fumban and settled there among the Tea people. And the Bali Nyonga group, each of the 7 groups of the Chamba people were all speaking Mungaka. Even when they came and settled in the present place, the Bali Nyonga settled here, it was Mungaka. But they have also picked the Mungaka language, where they settled for many years, and that was in a Tea speaking area near Bamung. They picked this language there, partly because the Bali Nyonga contingent, when they split into 7 groups, the male group, the men in that particular group were less than the women were more. In some of the groups, men were more, some women were more. And they settled in Bamam, the Tea people. And if they were not going to war, they were hunters. So men generally were not at home. The children who were being born in those years they stayed there stayed with their mothers, who the Bali men were more than the women. If you read the Bali history migrating, the women group, when they split into 7 groups, the group called Mudi or Bali Muti. The women went with that group. They are settled in Nigeria now. That group migrated to Nigeria. That group went with most of the women. These other groups, 5 groups that are settled in Bamenda, their women folks were few. They were majority only men. So Bali Nyonga people settled among the Tea people and intermarried in the years they were there. And the women, they intermarried with Tea women. They gradually getting children. The mothers teach their children her own language. So the children generation of Nyonga people who were growing while they were in Tea picked up the language of the environment. And that is how they picked up that language. But the majority still, they spoke Mungaka also, until they settled in Bali Nyonga when they migrated and settled. But gradually, the Tea language became the uniting language because of the Lolo people. The Lolo people were picked between the settlement in Tea and the arrival into Bamenda. And the Lolos were of different tribes from the Bamileke region. So this is how Mungaka came to be picked by the Bali Nyonga group only. And because the women now they intermarried in Tea, and the Tea women became Bali women, and naturally, as they brought up the children, it is the mother who starts giving the child, talking to the child when the child is young. So that is, in brief, the origin of Mungaka. It's a Tea language. But it is, language grows and changes, as I will mention in a minute. So those are things I heard and I thought I should comment on. I'm not saying that you should go out and say that I said, well, people did not, but say it is correct. If they want to refer to me who have said it, I will defend that position. Is what any expert would say. It's a Bantu particle. It's incorrect to admit that Ba is because Ba, the people named it. Okay. Language is like food. It's better to eat the food than to talk about the food. We are talking about word or vocabulary or lexis, as the expert will put it. You do not know a language until you know the names. Every one of us starts a language by by learning the names of things in that language. That is a practical truth. And naming things, the word or vocabulary in any language used for, is a common thing, that in any language you must start with words, vocabulary. When you were born, all of us here, anywhere, when you were born, the first thing that the family was concerned with is the name of the child. And so all of us have names, and names have meanings. They may not have meanings. They may just be, but each person has a name. Names or words are also named places. We are here, this country is called America. America is not Canada. Canada is not Britain. So the names, we give names to people, we give names to places, and we give names to things, ordinary things as we've seen in this book. The people call this mandikam. The English people call it umbrella. So the use of words is also to name and identify things. It also helps us to distinguish and to classify things. If you say Dudusang, you have named this particular animal, you have also classified it. Because when you are talking of Dudusang, you are talking of or Nyam. You are talking of, you have classified, you have called one group of things different from other things. Yeah, so when we use words for things, we also classify. But the first thing in learning a language is to learn the names of things. I say to classify because if you take a bird, saw a bird here, you go to that group, missing it's a whole group of things, which creatures that fly. You have classified those that thing. You distinguish it from creatures that walk on the ground or creatures so you are classifying things. You are classifying those things. Let me just say one or two things about the facts about vocabulary or words. The words that will give things in any language is arbitrary. That's the first fact that linguists will tell you. It's arbitrary. Simply means that when you say mandikang, next to is tap. Okay, if you say mandikang, the Frenchman comes and say what, parapluie? The Englishman says umbrella. Those names did not exist they are given. And there's no logic how they were given. Now they just made that word and put word mandikang. So mandikang is just arbitrary word given in that community for a thing. And once people say this is mandikang, that community, if you were to give them a command and say from today, this is not mandikang. From today, we're calling this thing tap, and everybody accepts. And tomorrow they're saying and everybody understands that is a label for this thing. That is why the word umbrella, is arbitrary. It's arbitrary. It's what the people agree that it is, the label they have put there. So words, names of things, it's just like you will wake up one day and your name is Gilbert Yonka, and you say, no, I don't like that name, even though my father's gave me, and you changed it, and from today, I want to be Henry. And if everybody accepts to call you Henry, all right. So words of things are arbitrary. It's a principle in linguistics, and it's a fact. If today the thing that shines in the night, English people say moon, and Bali people say moon. If English people wanted to change it and say it is the sun that shines in the night, and everybody accepts and uses it like that, fine. That is the language in English. You want to talk about the thing that shines in the night, you say sun. And the one that in the day is moon. All right, everybody says it, fine. So words are arbitrary. There are things that every community agrees as a label to a particular thing. And those who deal with this branch of language, because language is like any other area of science, there are branches. There are branches for people to specialize in. Those who deal in names of things are lexicographers, because that is the word, the big word for the vocabulary. So there is Mungaka. I agree with those that this is the beginning of a serious effort. But we should give credit also to missionaries. One missionary produced a dictionary, which dictionary for Mungaka, and it is there, it's in existence. It has limited copies. Maybe it has gone out of print. But these missionaries should be praised, because it is not easy to learn a language that is the area of meaning goes into tones. The tone language, as the publishers mentioned, somebody mentioned earlier, tone language means that Mungaka meaning is not changed by the smallest bit of sound, which the experts call phonemes. It is also changed by the tone. Tone, Mungaka is phonemic. That is, it changes with tone. When you change one thing and say different high tone or low tone, as somebody mentioned earlier, if you take BA, ba, father, ba, let us go, ba, the tone changes and you get meaning, a different meaning. These missionaries came to sit and write Mungaka and learn it and write it, and were able to get to these very technical things that you can just change your tone and meaning, a different meaning. It's not easy. It's easy because when you speak it, you don't think about it. But when you want to describe it, that is where you see that it is easy. And when you want to do what Dr. Fokwang is doing, of developing a course to teach, that is also a difficult area. But we should not assume that because we speak Mungaka, those things are easy. It's not. It's not. Even in England, English people, unless you are trained in linguistics, you cannot well, you speak the language fluently, but studying it is a different thing. It's hard work. I want to say one technical thing, one things that seems obvious from the question or remarks that Nigodi made. Oh no, I've said that one. That the language, your first language and your first language, second language. I think I've explained that. I want to say that words, well, the book is about words. Words, when you know a language, words enter a language. The total word in any language, the lexicon of the language. What if you were writing a dictionary, the whole thing that comes in the language. A number of words in any language, the total number of words is one that changes throughout, it changes. And one thing that Lilian, I think she never did linguistics, but has tried to do here is to, which is good, is that she tries to select objects, things that they will be seen very easy. But one fact in language is that words come into the language and words leave the language. They come in and they go. Some words may be words that are Mungaka now, and tomorrow they are gone. I don't know whether I can. If we take things that go in, words that go in, they go in because let's start with the ones that go out. Words that leave a language because those things don't exist. I was flipping on the other computer and I came across so many. All right, let me just open at random, and I've seen things like Kukat. Now, I can predict that this is good because it is still something that you can see in the cultural section of food market in Bamenda. But many people, Kukat was the standard thing for eating food in Bali when we were kids. Now, Kukat will soon go away. I'm not saying she's wrong to put Kukat there. As things develop, these things will go away. But as long as it is still there, fine. For historical purposes and for decoration purposes, we put I saw very interesting ones. Let me show you as I sat. She has put this particular thing. There was a standard thing that Bali people had in every house, the seat. Okay. Now you can predict that before long it's going to go out of use. Why? Because the modern things, if you go through any part of Bamenda, this is shrinking, it's going. But it's good to put it, it's good she has put it for historical purposes, for the decoration in the house. It shrinks now. Many houses, you see this, it is for decoration, not even for use for sitting. So for that reason, there are many words that are not in this book, and it is good that they are left out because they are exit. They've taken their exit. You have words like kukat, kupti. These are household things. Kup, it was a kind of clay bowl for putting soup. Nkaalang still exists, but it is one of the things going out because very few people found lang. Maybe no. Nkaalang will stay long because one of the traditional dishes of the Northwest is lang. Achu, achu. Well, achu will never go away. This is a standard thing. But what I'm saying is, not what should have prepared, the things she should have put in or out. What I'm saying is, generally, in principle, some words just leave the language. You don't use them, partly because those things no more exist. I was watching a video yesterday of ballet dances. Particularly, I saw Ntum for a long time. I've not seen. So if you say Ntum, it will be difficult to see that thing unless Leila will come back after the crisis in Cameroon. But for development, you have animals that used to roam in Bali, like Mfong. That's an animal that is gone. You have people, because of their tastes, an animal like Njabu is getting extinct. So Bulung, I saw Bulung yesterday. Where is it in the book here?
It's in the book.
Yes, it's in the book. Yes, and I remember the stories we used to tell about Bulung and so on. But it's good that that one is there, and that class of words, even though the articles, the things, for history, this is just that those growing now will never see the real Bulung or the real Mfong, and things like that. I was interested to hear her say how she went to extreme pains to look for rare birds like ngu and so on. But that's what you do, the research you do when you write a thing. There are plants in Bali like Nshinchi, which is the name of a quarter. That quarter used to be full of that kind of trees. It is not there. I don't see Nshinchi. I know the tree. At least not in the, there is a quarter in Bali that was named Futon because it was full of palm trees. So those plants are, no, tern is going to be there for long. But if you put Munchinchi in a vocabulary book or look for a picture for it, it is a thing that has left the language. If you put a vocabulary like word like vin, well, it is maybe to show how people in Bali used to build houses. But practically, if you put vin there as a vocabulary in Mungaka, it is pointless. It has gone out of the lexicon of Mungaka. Ntap used to be a drying house. So what I'm saying here is that what is done to use mostly things that will very likely be seen is a good point. On the front page, I remember immediately I got the book. That was, my mind went to this umbrella. It's a beautiful umbrella. But my mind quickly went back to things like wumti. Wumti is a Bali word. It's a kind of umbrella that they made out of the bamboo pith. If you want to waste space and put such thing there in the book, you are wasting space. So that aspect of the book of what a selective vocabulary is good. But words also come in to a language. I'm not talking now, I'm talking in principle. Words come into any language. And not only Mungaka, if you take a dictionary of English, open to any page like this, and read the words there before you get to the bottom, if it is indicating sources of the words there, you'll see that this word, the root, it came from Latin. it came from Arabic, it came from German. So that process of words coming from different sources. For instance, in Bali, the word Makongi or Chibi, there are words that have come into Mungaka because we borrowed those particular dances. Every language does that. And when you borrow, a language borrows a word, sometimes the word is adjusted to the phonology, the kind of sounds that are made in the language. The sounds have a pattern. And when they borrow a word, it may adjust into the pattern of the phonology of that language, meaning the way the sounds occur. Lilian mentioned how in Bali, the sound for in robot, so each language has its own pattern. In Bali, the word waspita is a borrowed word. It is not a Bali word, but it is adjusted when a Bali man speaks Ngama waspita. Yeah, it's Bali. That word is waspita is Bali, but in origin, it came from English, and it is adjusted naturally to the thing that is comfortable in their own way, pattern of sounds. Plankutu is a borrowed word. It's a Bali word, but it's a borrowed word. So loan words from English or from whatever. In English, for instance, this word tsunami it was not original in English. So an event happened and they got the word, I think, from Japanese. It is not part of English. Before they went to space, astronauts, there was no word like that. They coined. So words can come into the language being coined. They can be borrowed from another language. That is what lexicon people do. The other thing I wanted to mention, just in passing, for self-interest, for interests on it, is that every year, what lexicographers do is every year they put out something called the word of the year. The word of the year for every year. It is not a competition that what should we call this year? What word should we use this year? That word is a technical word that, it's a technical thing that dictionary makers or lexicographers do every year. It's really technical how they do it. I've not looked into how they work it, but every year, does anybody that's in their house know the word for this year? Word for the year, this year?
It's probably too early to tell.
It's what?
It's probably too early. They do it at the end of the year.
No, they do it
based on usage. Oh,
at
okay.
the beginning of the year, because they use computer and other things. The word for this year is lockdown. That is the frequency in which that particular word is used in the language. The one for 1920 was 2020 was pandemic. The one for last year, 2021, was VAX, vax. And you can get it, they coin that word vax for short for vaccination, and say it is easier to say, have you got your flu vax, than to say it is shorter than to say, have you got vaccination? If you just say, have you got your vax? So they do it, they choose the word with the computer processes and so on. I will end here, and my own is not for a question, but if there's controversy, I'll take one question. What I've said, if you disagree, we can talk.
Wow, thank you very much. Can we
I'll stop
a
here.
round of applause, please?
All right. All right, thank you, Madam Moderator.
Can I make a statement for Bar?
Who is making a statement? Oh, okay. Fidelis, go ahead.
Yeah, Fanchikaba, and let me put my video on. I'm in so lam so no Fanchikaba, quite Joyan grammar. La Nokian get more a joiner, Mafo Wangaka, Mbatinga ye, the Yandifa Wanga ye words, lung keket, come ver, minja kele ver, but one time my phone lung, but yam ket in English. Lung lunga dinosaur, one time by Jiwama Lisa complete. So, young one 11 want the lung kini chubani, you know what chuanga want ni, but you are educator, labo also a record. Ye atanga ye mun ban yo lunga e ke ji nyum liya ko kat bambu mun abawa wajin wa daga mun ban yo ma to provoke ma tatinga ka ba ko e ji yumi ka ba leya so yo wa lewon lung yumi ka ba akaba lung nyum yi awu ndiya ba. For example, for lung langa mun da your example, dinosaurs disappeared millions of years ago. Any language in English, but English in particular, cannot be complete without the word dinosaurs. So, no that yeah, keke de bachua, abanjo lung into a jung bang create words, kebon create naming, and so on. Anjo non chumamanya mga here, for example, even time a long one, never making one key to translate to English, make get a objective you want to be. Kele yaban da a man norwesa ke angong bania ele na nge kum to ginung mang ngade awa is that right ba ke da kiti wa na mungaka bani miro ba kaliwa ba to tedbo abo so no ngata langa file comment yeah I appreciate what Bas says, but then this is just a small contradiction I find there, and think that Manyem should go ahead and get into this book any name of anything whatsoever that ever existed in Mungaka, and the new ones that will be. Those names can never go away, even if those things go away. Okay, I'll get more younger party, not that far, more fun.
Mbimbu 100%. Yun sente yum don chua lan. Wanile ma yum I also ye bonkara bemanja wanile additional vocabulary. Yi illustrate ba. Ilon dong illustrate membating ngong keme ya maji wani yolea membating ga yong wani bu chanja ya la manjam additional vocabulary a very good initiative manang bu nung ba deng la ka translation so you mean that my to emphasize sabanga mata your photo your cake nung ya lo space bo color bo abong man ye abonga select ke bon do ti chubania photo your picture ya nung the pictures so that is credit so ke ya vama abong macho ni section yung benta na atiba vocabulary la words la so mbimi le your comments ni filichwa mamu kunge mau mapatia
Okay, Baba Fanjika, thank you, Nifidelis. We're gonna move to our closing remark, but before I do that, Mama Marie, your hand is raised. Can you just put it 1 minute, please?
And Ndangam just kind of answered or gave a highlight to what I wanted to say in response to Nifide. Maybe Manyem, the next edition of the book, you will reorganize it with sections that have things that are no longer frequently used, like cook and so on. So that was what I wanted to say. And Ba already pointed to the back. Maybe in your next edition, you will think about reorganizing the items in terms of what is currently still being used and what is kind of going to sleep and probably will sleep forever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mama Marie. Before we get into our closing remarks, can we all turn our cameras on so we can take a picture, please?
Sophie,
Valeria, I can't turn my camera on.
Okay, so we'll just have you in darkness. We'll have your name, so that's fine. So for those that are able to turn their cameras on, please do.
I can actually turn it because I have my virtual background.
Let me also
Oh,
just
okay.
add, there were some people who joined us afterwards, after we had done the official launch. So we'll take 2 photos. And I think I need some volunteers, maybe people who take screenshots. So we need 2 photos, one with everyone's camera turned on and then one with the book. So if you still have your copy of the book, please, let's begin with that.
The whole of the book?
Yeah, just raise your book, please, if you have a copy of the book.
And take out your virtual background so we can see.
Okay, I need to stop.
Yeah, take out your virtual background. I think it will help.
We need to put everybody in gallery mode. It's not.
It is in gallery mode.
Gallery mode.
Let's see. Hold on.
Yes, yeah, Vanilla, you're spotlighted.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, Vera, put it in gallery mode.
All right. So if you have a virtual background, it may be interfering with your book. But if you don't have that problem, no worries. So here is the book. All right. So our volunteer, take a screenshot. Remember, there are several screens, I think, depending on the size of your device.
Vapres, you're one of the volunteers.
All right, done. Wait, somebody, I'm retaking it. Somebody's son was covering the screen. That's fine. Okay, I got the first page. If you give me a second, I'll go to the second page. Second page.
Okay.
All right, I got both pages.
Awesome,
Two pages.
awesome.
This is with everybody holding a book, right?
Yes.
They said one. You wanted one with people not holding a book, or what?
So now everybody can smile. Put your books down.
And
Give
smile
your best smile. Those who came loaded with their green things, you can also raise a glass if you have one. I saw Niti had a.
You don't know Chulokwan?
Don't want to Chulokwan. Don't want to
Chulokwan.
Where is Niti?
Yeah.
Have a seat. Okay, I saw Niti with a big glass of beer. So if you want to raise your champagne or whatever it is, please raise it at this point, and let's again congratulate the author.
Thank you.
Need you get no green cream after this.
3, 2, 1. Right.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, everyone, for taking the time to come up. We're going to have 3 closing remarks. Somebody. I'm good to go. We're going to have 3.
No, too low, mama. Oh, yeah, but to that.
Oh.
Okay, we'll have 3 closing remarks. Again, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone, especially those who came in early and have stayed right to the end. We will continue the after book launching after closing. So please stay on and feel free to ask more questions and chit chat. I want to say thank you to our author. Thank you to Niji, her husband, for supporting her, and all those in the Mungaka language club and class. Nigodi for all the work that you put together to make this a reality. So again, kudos to Manyem, and I know this is just the beginning. So again, thank you everyone for being so gracious and for supporting our sister. So we're going to hear from the publisher and then the author last. Yeah, publisher husband.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma Valeria.
Conflict of interest.
No way.
You mean conflict of interest? In the sense that it is interest that is not conflicted.
It's compounding interest. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you all. We want to congratulate Ma Lilian once again for this amazing, amazing publication. I want to say two things. We have a platform to promote indigenous languages. So we are really dedicated to promoting all African languages. So if you know people who are interested, please direct them our way. So that's the first thing. Number two, we have a quote, and I posted that on the chat. If you are interested in any of our titles, you can enjoy 25% off from the purchase. So yes, if you have already made a purchase, contact us. We can negotiate that 25% off. Okay. And we thank you for having made that purchase. But if you are still planning to do so, please use that. It's valid until the end of the month. So we know you could have been elsewhere. It's Saturday. People get really busy. That's when people, devote the time for all the chores they could not do during the week. But you opted to spend time here with us. We've been here for almost 4 hours now. But it's been an amazing time spent with you, learning, celebrating our author, and hearing from all the speakers, reviewers, people who commented. It's just been an amazing experience. And so I think with that much ado, I would want to pass on the word to the author to give the final remarks.
Okay. Thank you.
Manyem,
Yes.
before you come in, let me just bring Bapres to say something. Then you can conclude. Thank you. So the president of BCA USA, Nick Clarence Ndangam.
Yeah,
Yes.
good evening, everyone. I know, and also cameraman. No, I'm really honored to be here, and obviously I can speak in many capacities, but I want to speak firstly just in the capacity of the president of BCA USA. BCA USA, for those non-BCA members on the call, is Bali Cultural Association here in the United States. It is the largest organization of Bali people out of Bali, over 1,000 members. And as the name says, the C in BCA is cultural. So one thing we pride ourselves as an organization is to promote our culture. That's why we're the Bali Cultural Association. And what better way to promote our culture than to document it? We know someday we'll no longer be here, and we know languages extinct, and many languages growing up. And over time, you tend to lose some of this when you don't practice it or speak it. So this is a great example of just bringing our culture to life. So I definitely want to congratulate and recognize Manyem for her amazing book in helping promote our culture. Manyem also serves at the national level as the chair of our publications committee. So she's also a key leader in our organization. So really great and honored to recognize her. And so wonderful to see many of our BCA members supporting her here as well today. Also including the chair of our board of directors, Dr. Ndangam-Fokwang, who also spoke eloquently earlier on. So again, Manyem, congrats, well done. On a personal note, obviously, as many of you know, Manyem is also my younger sister, so I couldn't be more proud and really honored to have a wonderful sister as smart as she is. Obviously, I think it's fair to say she takes it from my elder brother from me, so I feel a bit blessed to be part of that journey. Joke aside, but no, very well done, Manyan. I'm going to on a personal note to support the book as well. I'm going to add another 25% discount for anyone buying it today. So that means anybody buying it today will get it at 50% discount, which is the 125 from the author and 25 from me. So you keep track of all the books purchased today, and I'll match it by 25% in terms of the cost. So you can offer it at half the price to anyone buying today.
Wow.
But thank you. And
my president.
Wow, that's so Tika press. That's coming from Tika right there.
Thank you very much.
I keep on missing on the opportunities. I
I
got no price for my first price, and now I cannot get a deduction because I got a book.
What about those of us who got
Buy some more. Buy some more.
That's how we do it in BCA.
Buy for a friend.
What about those of us who got it hot off the press?
Buy for a friend.
No, we are talking about today.
Okay, I'll consider buying.
50% off.
Exactly.
I'm buying today all the way from Belgium.
Where's my father back?
Yes.
50%. Okay.
I should just clarify this for orders that are made exclusively on this PS site. So if you happen to go and buy from Amazon, please don't contact Bar President for your 25% discount.
Oh my God, okay. I'm taking it personal.
Okay.
I'm just clarifying. There's nothing personal here. No conflict of interest. Well, you can't use that code. You can't use that code on Amazon. It's only valid on this PS website. Bar President's discount is also valid only on this PS website.
Okay, Bar President.
Satiwa. Satiwa DT. Satiwa.
Banto ya wandi ndungwane lewaka.
$30.
$15. So
$30. Uncle. $30.
What you get $15 Ndindi from the two rebate?
That's 50% off. Yawanga muntin chene $15 per Ndindi man.
Yes.
Even after NNET.
The best. Anyone want any $15 more? You get in one. That's the best magic.
Nkomunjun bambo mafuni yanka wangwani mungwani le. Monjuno ba mambo ba manjam.
Balumo.
Balumo. Nti encourage senga bijun.
Okay.
But travel my passport touch. You nyem kala enta mangwani le angang. Bala kusunti fang on kila nyo iba fila fa.
Okay. Let me tell you that this is my uncle, Niti, my Nimbang, maternal uncle, and he's just saying that he doesn't need the book because he wrote the book, and I talked about him earlier, how much he helped and how many times I stayed up calling him to clarify things for me. So he helped a lot with this book. I've just spotlighted him there for everybody to know. He knows a lot about.
He's a great uncle.
Yes, he's a very, very influential uncle in my family.
Love that. So, I really appreciate it. That's good stuff.
He's uncle to all of us, me, Mana, and everybody. I've also spotlighted my mama, who's been sitting quietly, and she's listening to her brother make noise. Niti, by the way, you're not wearing seatbelt. Always seatbelt, bro.
Ndiwo Saturday.
Leave him alone. You're putting him on hot seat.
Really, Mana, really.
Proving that there no. Any color magic glass of Funendo.
Oh,
Manunchi.
Because you better jump when you motorcycle, you again tuned here.
Let's have our author
Let's have a
close
moment.
so that we have
So Saturday when you no sit there.
We're just reminding Nimbang that he's driving and he's not wearing the seatbelt, and he said it's because it's Saturday.
And it's a no accident day.
So it was all right.
So
yeah, no traffic, no anything.
Hey, my big sister, yes.
Malifa. So Ndangam-Fokwang chatting up. My daddy, you've done a wonderful job. No food mission. Mom, I
got you. Automatically.
It's nice to have a brother. It's nice to have a brother.
I'm going to
Yes.
That's
so
all.
You've done a great job. It's a good tool for all of us. You should have written this book 30 years ago when we were raising our own children, so that we can we should be where some people are today, not being left out with our children not able to read Mungaka, even us not able to read Mungaka. So I just want to say thank you and continue with a good job, and we are behind you, supporting you 100%. And to my brother, my Tikali brother, I want to say thank you, for supporting everyone buying the books today. And then for those who said they already bought the books, you can give it as a present to a friend, to a family member, to other children. And I agree with Mama Marie that lots of copies should be brought to the convention because many more people will want to buy it there. Or Mama Marie, when you're talking about your own copy, or to buy for all of us as not chair of the board. Anyway, I just took a moment to the bathroom to say congratulations, Mayim, and to Nijut. And Jinga Boma Jin Nijut. Bye.
So
Mommy, I'll see you too.
I'm buying it.
Bye-bye.
I'm buying it for you, it's not the bot's money.
To clarify.
To make sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Fanjika ni Mabia Wangomo Mabel Pontia. Thank you so much for attending. It's been wonderful. It's been engaging. It's been really, really interesting engaging with you all. And I hope if you came here, you took something away, not just about the book, but also some inspiration if you're not Mungaka speaker, but maybe inspiration to learn Mungaka like my friend Hilda. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate you all for turning up today. There are many places you could have been, but you stayed here today. I want to take time to acknowledge my mom who is here. She's been listening and she's sitting there. She's in the family, we say Helen Senior because we have Helen Ndangam, which is the wife of my brother. But Mama Helen Ndangam is here. She's, when they say mother tongue, your mother is your first teacher. And she's really been there. She spent so many times with me when I was writing this book, going back and forth and making suggestions. Really, really helpful. So I appreciate that, Mama. Thank you. Thank you again to Nimba Niti, who is driving, who helped a lot with being resourceful for this book. Thank you to all my classmates from Mungaka. We moved from Mungaka 201 to 101 to 201. And our hope, Annie Marcel, is to get to 501.
Yeah. And you should also congratulate the repeaters now.
Yes.
And repeaters.
Lilian is a perpetual repeater, and we don't kick people out.
I'm coming to Atlanta to drive her to that 201.
So I'm one of the repeaters.
Makomi,
yep.
Yes, I'm one of the repeaters, but I'm going to come back. I'm not running.
Thank you, man.
Lilian, I'm so proud of you because you have proven that Jude and Godi, they are doing a wonderful job. So thank you, Mali. Keep on soaring.
Thank you, Jika Marco, for me. Yes, so I want to thank everybody for coming. Keep the conversation going. If you want to stay engaged on a daily basis with Mungaka, come like my page on Facebook, the Mungaka Language Hub. You share tips and little things there that you can practice, spellings of different items in Mungaka and those kinds of things. It's still a work in progress. There is so much work to do. Those of us who are involved in the Mungaka class, we have a huge project we are still working on. It's going to take us a while, but we are determined and committed to get that project done. So please keep supporting us and supporting our language in whatever way you can. Get your kids involved, get your kids engaged, you know. Even if they live in this society, they're learning Spanish and all other languages. Why can't they learn our language, you know? One of the students in our Mungaka 201, who's a student at the University of Howard, I think. Is she in Howard or in Atlanta? I forgot to. But she's taking Mungaka 101 and she's interested in learning Yoruba as well. So that interest that they talk about, growing interest in African languages, it's there. It's there. And I'm seeing a lot of our young people who grew up here, the diaspora, like being interested, like Marfrida said, you know, children are asking, Materi, the children are asking. If we have these resources out there, it helps them a lot. It helps them answer questions. Like if you speak this language and I'm interested in it, how do I learn it? And they can only learn it when we have resources. So we do have, from the perspective of PS Media, we have those things out there. We have the Mungaka alphabet book, which you can get and just learn what the alphabet is. That is really basic, you know. And then from there, you can use the picture book or you can use the textbook itself. You want to get more technical. But I encourage you to get involved, get engaged. It is not enough to speak a language. It is enough to, you have to speak for the language and continue advocating for that language to survive. Because if you're not here, tomorrow you want other people to speak it. That's more. Don't think that children pick up languages so fast. You should come see the children in our Mungaka 101 class. They are so engaged and they're really interested in learning. So I urge all parents who are here to get those kids involved, get them engaged. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to all my friends. I saw all my JMC crew. Thank you for coming. And those of you who called in late, stayed up late from outside North America. I saw my brother Nibabs and Ma Vicky, all the way from Scotland. Ma Sophie, our queen in Belgium. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're a fabulous ambassador for Bali Cultural Association in Belgium, for our community, and you really embraced this book, try to get people to buy it. So thank you all, everybody. We're going to close the formal part right here, and then we'll stay on for chit chat. We'll stop recording, and then we can stay on for chit chat. And those who have questions or any other things, we will answer them.
Where's the after party?
What is the Mungaka word of the year or the day?
Did you stop the recording, Mariam?
It's Bulum.
Yes, is the Mungaka. That is a good one. We would have to think. It would be something related to COVID. Jamfi.
Marley, if you only had beings in your book and you didn't have the types of beings, know that there's Mbomcha and then there's Mwakang.
Good job.
That is very good. Wow. Thank you. You really got a market.
Batakum niki beria. Yondi mama tungam leba.